Chapter 57:14. After the two slaps, Kong Xiaobo's anger subsided a little. He clasped his hands together and shattered the contract into pieces. Then, he pushed Abel and the two people beside him out without any explanation. Abel, who had just regained his senses after being slapped twice, shouted furiously, "How dare you do this to me? Damn Easterners! Do you know that if you offend us, no one in Europe will dare to work with you? Just wait to get out of Europe with your tails between your legs." Lin Yi suddenly appeared beside Abel, grabbed him by the back of his collar and threw him out. Then he threw the other two out as well. Then he said coldly, "You can leave now. I want to see if there's really no one willing to work with us without you." After that, he turned around and smiled at Kong Xiaobo. "Xiaobo, well done. There's no need to be polite to these cheese." That being said, the people who came to ask questions earlier turned around and left when they saw this scene. It was obvious that they knew a lot about the Fleischer family. Abel crawled up from 10 meters away, yelling at Lin, "Who the hell are you? How dare you interfere with our Fleischer family's business?" Kong Xiaobo stepped forward and said, "This is our boss. He has the final say in everything in Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company." "Good. Very good. You will regret this." Abel was silent for a while, then he turned around and walked towards Dr. Kang's booth while cursing. At the same time, he turned around and said to Lin Yi, "You're not the only one here with golden creation. Although the effect of Dr. Kang's medicine is slightly weaker than yours, it won't be by much. I'll go look for them." This was obviously a sign of weakness. No one knew if it was Edmund's order or if he was really afraid. But Dr. Kang's cooperation was indeed within the plan. Edmund Fleischer wanted to monopolize the golden creation in the East. It wasn't enough to just get Miracle Dr. Guan's dealership. If he could get Dr. Kang's dealership as well, then he'd be able to make huge profits with a small investment. He'd be able to focus on whichever one was more profitable, and there wouldn't be any competition. Miracle Dr. Guan's booth, which had been filled with people before, became deserted once more after Abel left. No one would come to seek cooperation after knowing that Miracle Dr. Guan had offended the Fleischer family. Kong Xiaobo smiled bitterly. "Boss, it seems that this trip is in vain. But it doesn't matter. Anyway, the increased production capacity can be absorbed in China. If it doesn't work, we can sell it to America. Such a small matter made you give up on your plan to enter Europe? Then you have no ambition." Lin Yi patted Kong Xiaobo's shoulder with a smile. He didn't seem to mind at all. Lai Changyi also came over with a smile. "Boss is right. We'll cross the bridge when we get there. Don't worry." "Oh right, boss, why did you come alone?" "Oh, I came back to take a look. They're still eating. Why don't you two go and eat as well?" "Let them watch over here," Lin Yi said casually. He also noticed Abel and the others coming over. It seemed like they didn't come with good intentions, so he came over to take a look. "It's fine. You go, boss. Old Lai and I will wait here. Maybe someone will come and ask about it." Kong Xiaobo said a little dispiritedly. He still had some ideas about entering Europe, so he wanted to see if there were more opportunities. Lin Yi sighed softly in his heart. Originally, he didn't want to continue to intervene in the affairs of the secular world, but now it seemed that he still had to use his previous relationships. It was not impossible to destroy the Fleischer family by force, but unless this method could wipe out the entire population of Europe, it was bound to cause a backlash in the future. At that time, Lin Yi would return to Heaven Stage Island, and Kong Xiaobo and the others would become the people who would bear the brunt of the anger. He took out his phone and dialed the familiar number. After it was connected, Lin Yi opened his mouth and wanted to say, "Princess, help me check." But he immediately realized that Ran Ran had fallen into a deep sleep. The intelligence contact of the Black Butterfly organization had probably been changed a long time ago. Sure enough, there was a pleasant but unfamiliar female voice on the other side. She said softly to Lin Yi, "Hello." Lin Yi replied, "I'm fine." Then the person on the other side said, "The Heavenly King covers the Earth Tiger." Lin Yi whispered, "The Black Widow is dead." To be honest, Lin Yi didn't understand how his master came up with such a contact code back then, and it hadn't changed for so many years. When Ran Ran was still around, Lin Yi didn't need to say it because Ran Ran knew Lin Yi's number and voice. As long as it was Lin Yi calling, she would know immediately. May I ask for your code name? The soft female voice continued to explain the process. Lin Yi withdrew his thoughts and said faintly, Eagle, killer code Z0001. Hello, Eagle. Is there anything I can help you with? The girl's tone was noticeably more respectful after Lin Yi introduced himself. Please help me check the contact information of a person with the surname Buffon in my previous mission. I forgot his name, but I only know that he is the young master of the Buffon family in Europe. Lin Yi only remembered that there was such a person, and he should be able to help Kang Xiaobo and the others. Okay, please wait a moment. The female voice said softly, and then continued after only 2 or 3 seconds, I found it. I have sent it to your mobile phone. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, thank you. Lin Yi thanked her and hung up the phone directly. Then he opened the text message. Sure enough, he had received a new message. It was the contact number of the young master of the Buffon family. As long as he could contact him, the threat of the Fleischer family could be resolved. Herman Buffon, this was the person Lin Yi was looking for. In a mission that year, Lin Yi saved Kerman's life. Now that he was looking for him to do something, he wouldn't refuse. The phone rang for a long time before it was connected. Then, there was deafening music and noise from the other end. It seemed that this guy was out at a bar. Hello, who is it? Say something. Don't disturb me from drinking. A young man's voice shouted impatiently. It seemed that he was a little unhappy about being disturbed. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said plainly, Kerman Buffon? I am Eagle. The other side seemed to be stunned for a moment, and then there was an excited scream. Eagle? Brother Eagle? Quiet. You guys keep quiet. Chapter 57:15. Lin Yi smirked. It seemed like Kerman did not forget that he saved his life. Also, the Buffon family seemed to be quite powerful. Kerman took a few deep breaths. Then he asked nervously and excitedly, Brother Ing, is that really you? It's me. I haven't seen you for a long time. How are you? Lin Yi casually greeted him. After all, they had not contacted each other for many years. Of course I'm fine. Damn it, Brother Ing, where have you been all these years? Do you know how many times I've been looking for you? But your previous organization told me that you've already retired. They don't even have your contact information. I've sent people all over Asia to look for you. Unfortunately, there has been no news of you. You finally remembered to call me. Kerman spoke very quickly. Fortunately, Lin Yi's English hearing was not bad. Otherwise, he might not have been able to understand what he was saying. However, Kerman said that he had been looking for him. This surprised Lin. Back then he only saved him once. Later on, they established a certain level of friendship. But there was no need for Kerman to look for him for so many years, right? For example, Lin Yi himself did not even remember Kerman's name. If it wasn't for the detailed information in the text message, it would be awkward for him not to be able to remember Kerman's name. Brother Ing, where are you now? Asia? Give me the specific coordinates. I'll fly over to meet you immediately. After Kerman spoke, he immediately asked for Lin Yi's location. It seemed like he had been looking for him for a long time. Lin Yi smiled and said, I'm in Europe now. Milva, if it's convenient for you, you can come over and meet me. I have something to talk to you about. Milva? I'm in the nearby town of Mendoza. It's very close to Milva. Brother Ing, wait for me. I'll come over immediately. Where do you want to meet me? Kerman was overjoyed. His voice was filled with excitement. Lin Yi thought about it and said, I'm staying at the Milva International Hotel. Why don't you come over there and call me when you're there? No problem. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Brother Ing, wait for me. Kerman immediately hung up. It seemed like he rushed out to drive. Lin Yi tilted his head. He didn't know why this guy wanted to see him so much. Perhaps it was because he admired him? After all, he was only a teenager when Lin Yi saved him, the age where he worshipped heroes. After seeing Lin Yi's skills, he made Lin Yi his idol. No matter what, Kelman's attitude was helpful to Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He turned back to Xiaobo and Lai Cheng. Come, let's go back to the hotel. I've found someone to represent us. There shouldn't be a problem with the European channels. Xiaobo stared blankly at Lin Yi. Boss, you're so cool. You even know people in Europe. Lai Changyi slapped the back of Kong Xiaobo's head. He laughed and said, What are you talking about? Do you only know how awesome boss is now? Kong Xiaobo thought about it and agreed. However, he still had to take revenge for being hit by Lai Changyi. Two joint directors were fighting without any warning. The atmosphere just now was gone. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. He didn't care about the two. He walked out of the venue and called Sun Jingyi and the others. He told them that he was going back to the hotel and that they would go back together after Languza finished his meal. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi laughed as they followed behind Lin. They didn't care about the booth. After what the Fleischer family did on the first day, they probably wouldn't have any intention to cooperate. A few workers were enough to deal with it. After the three of them returned to the hotel, they waited for Kerman at the bar. Kong Xiaobo asked Lin Yi how he knew Kerman. Boss, didn't you transfer from the mountains to Songshan High School? Since when did you know the young master of a big family in Europe? Kong Xiaobo poured a glass of red wine for Lin Yi and asked curiously. These lackeys didn't know much about Lin Yi's past, and when he was with Lin Dongfang, no one dared to disturb his and Aunt Qing's private world, so it was normal for him to ask about it now. Who said I'm going to Songshan High School? I'm actually going there to be a bodyguard. Lin Yi smiled as he reminisced about the time when he first came to Songshan. I came here before when I was doing a mission, so it's normal to know people from Europe. Boss, you're going to be a bodyguard? For who? Kong Xiaobo paused and looked like he wanted to gossip. Yeah, of course. You can't even guess that? It's a mission my old man gave me, and it's a long story, so I'll keep it short. Lin explained the whole story briefly, and the two felt as if they'd finally understood what was going on. I see, that's why boss doesn't look like a student. Speaking of which, boss, why didn't you go after the two prettiest girls at home and went after sis-in-law Tang Yun instead? Kong Xiaobo laughed as he wondered if boss thought that rabbits don't eat the grass near their nest. Lin Yi looked strangely at Kong Xiaobo and said, Didn't you tell me to go after Tang Yun? Kong Xiaobo was dumbfounded. It seemed like it was true. He couldn't say anything and could only raise his glass to Lin Yi and Lai Changyi. The three gently clinked their glasses. After Lai Changyi took a sip of red wine, he said to Lin Yi with interest, Boss, can you tell us about your glorious past? Otherwise, wouldn't it be shameful if we don't even know boss' glorious past? Kong Xiaobo immediately nodded and said, That's right, boss. Tell us about that Kerman Buffon first. How did you meet him? He seems to have some power here? Okay, since we have nothing to do anyway, let's just talk about it. Lin Yi usually wouldn't talk about his past. He was in a good mood today, so he told Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, I was only 16 years old at that time. I came to Europe to carry out a mission and saved the life of an 11 or 12-year-old boy. That was Kerman Buffon. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi listened attentively. After 10 seconds, they saw that Lin Yi didn't continue talking and they couldn't help but ask hesitantly, Boss, then? Then that's it. Lin Yi said matter-of-factly. Chapter 57:16. However, Lin Yi could go into detail about what happened after he arrived at Songshan, but Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi both knew about it. Seeing how emotional Lin Yi was, they could only sigh along with him. Not long after, Kerman's call arrived. After knowing Lin Yi's exact location, Kerman only took 5 to 6 minutes to appear at the entrance of the bar. The young man from back then had grown a lot taller. He was wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans with a beige casual suit. Coupled with his slightly curly short blonde hair, one would think of the word low-key luxury at first glance. Kerman, over here. Lin Yi waved at the door and stood up with Kong Xiaobo. This was out of respect for a friend, and it had nothing to do with Kerman's identity. Kerman looked towards the direction of Lin Yi's voice, and his face was instantly filled with joy. He stretched his long legs and rushed over, not even bothering to greet the young man behind him. Brothering! I finally found you. Kerman ignored Lin Yi's outstretched hand and rushed up to give Lin Yi a big hug. Then, he smiled and nodded at Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi. He hadn't introduced Lin Yi officially, but since he was one of Lin Yi's people, it was only natural for him to express his goodwill. Lin Yi waited for the person who came with Kerman to come over before gesturing for everyone to sit down. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi introduced themselves, saying that they were both Lin Yi's underlings, instantly making Kerman feel a lot closer. "Brother Ing, this is Lyman Gerard, my friend. His family is related to mine, so Lyman often comes out with me to play." After Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi introduced themselves, Kerman also introduced the young man who came with him. "Greetings, big brothers. I am Lyman Gerard. If you have any trivial matters in Europe, you can look for me to make arrangements. If there are any major matters, I will still need Brother Kerman's help," Layman said with a brilliant smile. This young man easily gave people a good impression. He did not have the aura of a playboy. Perhaps it was because of Lehman's respect for Lin Yi and the others? From the conversation between the two, Lin Yi could easily determine that Layman should be Zuckerman's younger brother, or in other words, the Gerard family itself was the younger brother of the Buffon family, so Layman was more or less a follower, following Zuckerman everywhere to play. After the new glasses were delivered, Layman took the initiative to take the bottle and poured wine for Kelman. He also asked Lin Yi and the others if they needed any more wine before pouring it for himself. "Brother Ing, where have you been all these years? Why couldn't I find you?" After raising his glass and toasting Lin, Kerman couldn't wait to ask. Lin Yi smiled faintly. "It's me, I'm in school." Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi couldn't help but laugh. Their boss just said that he wasn't going to school, but to be a bodyguard, and now he said that he was going to school. But this wasn't wrong. Lin Yi did stay in school for a long time. Of course, it was only in name. In reality, he skipped classes every 2 to 3 days. School? Kerman paused, not expecting an answer like this. No wonder the men he sent out couldn't find Lin Yi at all. He'd never asked his men to pay attention to any of the students in the school. "You said that you've been looking for me for a long time. What's the matter?" Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to talk about Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. He asked Kelman first. Kelman shook his head, trying to get rid of the fact that Lin Yi was going to school. He put on a look of admiration. "It's like this, Brother Ing, I've always wanted to be your disciple. I was young back then, so I didn't think about it. I only regretted it after you went back. I've been looking for you for a few years now, and I finally found you. Today, you must take me as your disciple and teach me martial arts." Lin Yi was speechless. This was really a hero complex. For the sake of learning martial arts, this guy had been looking for someone all over the world for a few years. This guy's heart was quite firm. Layman followed. "Brother Ing, if it's possible, please take me as your disciple. I'm the same as Brother Kelman. I admire your martial arts." "Don't worry, Layman. If Brother Ing takes me as his disciple, I'll definitely take you as my disciple. After we finish learning, we'll be able to sweep across Europe." Kelman patted his follower's shoulder, as if Lin Yi had already agreed to take them as his disciples. But Lin Yi didn't say anything. How did it become a certainty? Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi couldn't stop laughing. They didn't expect to encounter such a fun thing with their boss. It wasn't a wasted trip. Lin Yi looked at the two's shoulders and smirked. He said to Kelman, "You guys don't have any foundation right now. You should learn from Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi first. I taught them. You guys will be in contact with each other in the future, so it'll be convenient for them to teach you." Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were dumbfounded. Why were they involved? They were the co-directors of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. They didn't have time to play around with these two kids. In fact, the two of them were only a few years older than Kerman, but from their point of view, Kerman and Kerman could only be considered as children who were still wet behind the ears. Kelman and Layman looked at Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi with distrust. Especially Lai Changyi. He was at the foundational stage, but he still looked like a fatty. He didn't look like a master at all. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi weren't happy. Kelman and Layman weren't happy either. Lin Yi smiled and pointed at the alloy table in front of him. He said to Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, "The corner of this table is a bit sharp. It'll hurt easily. Cut it off with your hands and make it smoother." He wanted them to show off their skills to intimidate these two foreigners. Actually, what Lin Yi said was child's play to Kong Xiaobo and Kelman. It was effortless. Since their boss ordered them, they could only shake their heads and smile. Both of them stretched out a finger and gently drew an arc on the corner of the table. Immediately, A smooth and thin line was cut out of the alloy table by their Jinchi. Both of them casually pinched the small corner of the table and took it off. Kelman and Lehman's mouths were wide open. They couldn't believe what they saw. Is this magic? Brother Ing, you brought 2 magicians, right? Chapter 57:17. Kong Xiaobo looked at him like he was looking at a country bumpkin and said proudly, "Come, Kerman, move aside. This arc isn't smooth enough, let me fix it." After Kerman moved aside, Kong Xiaobo wiped the corner with his hand, and a layer of fine metal powder was scattered on the ground. Kerman looked at the corner again, and the shape had indeed changed. Only then did he believe that what he saw was real. At that moment, the 2 European youths looked at Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi with shining eyes. Their shocked expressions made the 2 of them feel that it wasn't bad to have 2 disciples like them. Lin Yi smiled. "All right, this matter is settled. Now, let's talk business." Kerman wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and sat up straight. "Big Brother Ing, if you need anything, just let me know. I'll do my best to help you." "That's not necessary. If you're troubled, you don't have to force yourself," Lin Yi said with a smile before getting back to the main topic. "Kerman, I wanted to ask, does your family have a medical business?" "Huh. So Big Brother Ing wants to ask about business. Then there's no problem, I'll definitely be able to help. My family does all kinds of business. Just leave it to me, Big Brother Ing." Kerman smiled and said confidently, "All kinds of business? Is it a shopping mall?" Kong Xiaobo interrupted with a smile. He didn't think that Kerman would turn around and nod at him. "We do have shopping malls, but there's only about 30 of them in the whole of Europe. We need to continue expanding." Kong Xiaobo's eyes lit up. It seemed like the Buffon family was really strong. From what Kerman said, shopping malls were one of the less important businesses, but these channels were very helpful to the sales of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's products. Lin Yi nodded. "That's good. Have you heard of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group? Miracle Dr. Guan wants to sell his products in Europe, and he needs an agent." Before Lin Yi could finish, Kerman said excitedly, "Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Corporation, the one with the gold sore medicine, right? I know. When I sent people to find Brother Ing, I heard about Miracle Dr. Guan's golden sore medicine. My men even smuggled some over, and the effects were amazing. Brother Ing, are you representing Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company? If that's the case, you must give us the dealership." Lin Yi and the other 2 were slightly stunned. They didn't expect Kerman to know about their products. However, his explanation was acceptable. Anyone who stayed in the country and came into contact with the gold sore medicine would have a deep impression of this product. Since Kerman knew about it and had the intention, it was easy to negotiate. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi reintroduced themselves as the co-director of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Kong Xiaobo immediately decided to cooperate with them. Although Kerman was young, he was the leader of the new generation in the Buffon family who had a lot of power. He could take the dealership on his own. Out of respect for Lin Yi and the fact that he was about to learn martial arts from Kong Xiaobo, Kerman generously gave them the greatest sincerity he could. The dealership fee to Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company every year was 100 million euros, and the supply price was the retail price in the country. This condition was much better than what he just gave to the Fleischer family. The dealership fee was a few times higher, not to mention the supply price. Furthermore, Kerman wasn't just giving away money for free. Cooperation was a win-win situation. His subordinates were in the business of smuggling godly Dr. Guanguan's golden sore medicine, and they knew how terrifying the profits were. As long as they could get the exclusive agency rights, a mere 100 million was nothing. If they had a sufficient supply, they could easily earn 700 to 800 million euros a year. Both parties were very sincere, and they quickly finished discussing the details. They agreed to sign the contract tomorrow, and Ku Man would hold a press conference to spread the news. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's golden sore medicine had always been a smuggled product, but it had a good reputation. If they used this opportunity to spread the news, it would definitely be an instant hit. After discussing the business, Kerman, who looked like an elite in the business world, immediately turned into a young man who dreamed of martial arts. He pestered Lin Yi and the other 2 and started asking all sorts of questions. In the end, The two were drunk and sent to the hotel room. Lin Yi and the other two finally got away. It was almost 1:30 in the morning. Sun Jingyi and the others had already returned to rest. The three went back to their rooms to rest. The next afternoon, House Buffon arranged a press conference at Miracle Dr. Guan's booth to prepare for the signing of the contract with the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. All of this was handled by House Buffon, and Lin Yi didn't have to worry about it. Kerman, on the other hand, only woke up at noon, and after washing up, he came to the stadium in high spirits. It wasn't time yet. The press conference hadn't been set up yet, but Abel got the news from somewhere. He knew that someone was going to sign a contract with the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group, so he rushed over with his men. Seeing that Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were there, but Lin Yi wasn't there, Abel waved his hand and ordered his men to spread out. They surrounded Miracle Dr. Guan's booth, preventing anyone from entering the area. Kang Xiaobo's face darkened when he saw this. Abel, what's the meaning of this? Are you causing trouble? Ha, which eye of yours saw me causing trouble? I'm maintaining order. I'm helping you. Shouldn't you be thanking us? Abel was quite shameless. He lied through his teeth. Thank you, but we don't need it. Please leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Kang Xiaobo laughed coldly. Abel was stunned. Kang Xiaobo's actions last night were still fresh in his memory. But Igratipovich said that these people followed the rules. At least they didn't dare to act recklessly after the security arrived. Abel was at ease. Is this your private place? Why don't we call the security and ask if there's such a saying? Abel looked at Kang Xiaobo mockingly. He knew that Kang Xiaobo wouldn't be able to do anything. Chapter 57:18. Abel looked at Kang Xiaobo's defeated expression and smiled proudly. Mr. Kang, I've said it before. Without the support of the Fleischer family, you'll have a hard time in Europe. How about it? I've prepared a new contract from yesterday. Why don't you sign it? Look at how magnanimous I am. You should be grateful for this. Languza suddenly appeared out of nowhere with a big bag of hamburgers in his arms. His mouth was also stuffed full. Seeing Abel's arrogant look, he turned to Kang Xiaobo and said vaguely, Brother Kang, this guy looks quite annoying. Do you want me to help you beat him up? Kang Xiaobo smiled. These days, he and Languza had become familiar with each other. He knew that Languza simply liked to fight. To be more precise, he liked to bully noobs. However, Lin Yi didn't allow him to casually make a move. If Kang Xiaobo agreed, then it wouldn't violate Lin Yi's order. No need. Languza, you go find boss. I can handle this. Kang Xiaobo smiled and waved his hand. He knew that Languza didn't hold back. He didn't dare to let Languza make a move. Languza shook his head regretfully. He took out a hamburger from the bag and took a big bite. Then he went to the lounge. Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, Su Shihan, and the others were waiting there. Abel suddenly felt cold sweat on his forehead. The moment he saw Languza, he thought of the 5 bodyguards of Igratipovich. It was said that they were caught by this blue-haired guy in an instant. Then, their limbs were mercilessly broken. If Languza attacked him just now, wouldn't he end up in the same miserable state? Abel was secretly afraid. He didn't dare to say anything to provoke Languza. Anyway, today's goal was to destroy the contract between Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company and some European companies or individuals. As long as he showed the name of the Fleischer family, he believed that not many people would dare to mess with them. Yo, isn't this the watchdog of the Fleischer family? Why are you in such a good mood? Where's your master? Didn't he come with you with a leash? Just when Abel was thinking that not many people would dare to offend the Fleischer family, a fearless person walked over. It was the young master of the Buffon family, Kerman Buffon. Looking back, Abel's face turned ugly. Kerman didn't bring laymen alone. There were more than 20 bodyguards. They were supposed to maintain order at the scene. Who would have thought that they would be surrounded by the people from the Fleischer family before the conference even started? Kerman, this is the territory of the Fleischer family. I'm doing something serious right now. Are you trying to provoke us by bringing people here? Abel said in a deep voice. Although he was afraid of the Buffon family, he wasn't afraid. I don't have the time to provoke a watchdog. I'm here for serious business. Do you see the setup for the press conference? Kerman pointed at the press conference, which had yet to be completed. His meaning was self-explanatory. Kerman Buffon. This is the business that our Fleischer family wanted first. Are you trying to snatch it from us? Abel stared at Kerman angrily. He immediately realized that it was the Buffon family that had formed a partnership with the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. But he also knew that there wasn't much hope for this business. The strength of the Buffon family was no worse than that of the Fleischer family. Perhaps it was even stronger. More importantly, the Fleischer family and the Buffon family had always been at odds. They were originally enemies, so they would not give him face. As expected, Kerman laughed. That's funny. You're saying it as if you didn't snatch business from us. Plus, I've officially formed a partnership agreement with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I'm not like some shameless people who only know how to use underhanded methods. Forget it. Why am I wasting my breath on a dog? It's a waste of my saliva and lowers my status. Abel's face turned green. He gritted his teeth. Kerman Buffon, don't forget where you are. This is Milva, the territory of our Fleischer family. Aren't you afraid that old Buffon will be sad if you come here and cause trouble? This time, Lehman didn't need Kerman to speak. He sneered, what a joke. If your Fleischer family dares to touch Kerman here, we, the Gerard family, will be the first to teach you a lesson. Abel narrowed his eyes and looked at Komen and Lehman with murderous intent. Although the Gerard family was the younger brother of the Buffon family, and their strength was more than a level lower, the Gerard family was famous for their crazy fighting spirit. If they really bit the Fleischer family, even if they couldn't kill the Fleischer family, they would definitely be able to tear off a large piece of flesh. I'm in a good mood today. I don't want to argue with a watchdog like you. Get lost. If you want to cause trouble for this young master, send Edmund or those useless sons of his to deal with me. You're not qualified. Kerman said to Abel in disdain. He then waved his hand and asked his men to chase him and the Fleischer family away. This was their territory, but Kerman had the confidence to do so. Needless to say, this guy had the potential to become an overlord when he fully matured. Although Abel was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. His heart was bleeding as he watched a cornucopia of business being snatched away like this. If he had known this earlier, he would have signed the contract according to Lai Changyi's conditions yesterday. The conditions were really very favorable. It was very easy to earn €1 billion a year. Now it was all for naught. Dr. Kang's golden sore medicine, which was similar to Miracle Dr. Guan's, was taken away by the Sacred Alliance long ago. The Fleischer family who lost both ends could only watch as others ate the meat. They couldn't even get a share of the soup. All of this was because of that idiot Igratipovich. What a stupid idea. Abel thought hatefully. Unfortunately, he couldn't do anything. Kerman was right. He was just a dog under Edmund, and Igratipovich was Edmund's nephew. What should he do in the end? Edmund had to figure it out himself. Chapter 57:19. Kong Xiaobo smiled and nodded. Boss is here. He's resting in the lounge. Did you sleep well last night? It was all right. This little bit of wine is nothing. How about we go for a drink after today's conference? Kerman said with a smile as if he wasn't the drunk person yesterday. Kong Xiaobo didn't mind. With his strength, he could drink a jar of white wine, let alone a few bottles of red wine. It wasn't a big deal. It was normal for him to not get drunk after thousands of glasses of true qi. The two of them stood at the side and chatted for a while. The background of the conference was almost done. If the banner, Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group authorizes Buffon Group to sign the contract for all products in Europe, was hung earlier, the unlucky Abel probably wouldn't have walked into the muzzle of the gun. That's why it was said that the early worm would be eaten by the bird. Wouldn't everything be fine if you came a little later? With the Buffon family's presence, the rest of the process went smoothly. Kerman, as the representative of the Buffon family, signed his name with Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi under the flashing lights. Then, they exchanged the contract and officially announced the establishment of the partnership. The Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group had also begun their steps into Europe. Although the Fleischer family was unwilling, they didn't dare to do anything to Kerman on the surface. Both parties were enemies, but before they had full confidence, no one would go against Kerman. especially since this was the Fleischer family's territory. If anything happened to Kerman, it didn't matter if it was done by them or not. In the end, the Fleischer family would be besieged by the other neutral families. So, not only could Edmund not do anything to Kerman, he had to ensure Kerman's safety. As for whether he would secretly find someone to kill Kerman after leaving the Fleischer family's territory, it would depend on the situation. After the signing was done, there was nothing for Lin Yi to do. The matter of opening the European market would naturally be handled by the Buffon family. Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi only needed to sit at home and collect the money. Big brother Ing, where are you going now? Kerman chuckled as he followed behind Lin. He had found a big business for his family, which was a huge contribution. Furthermore, he could finally learn the martial arts that he had been dreaming of. His mood was indescribable. Coleman did not need to worry about the follow-up business, so he was very free now. It would be best if he could follow Lin Yi around. Lin Yi smiled and said, I'm going to Lan Mi with them to watch Ching Yi's concert. If you have nothing to do, come with us. Even if Lin Yi didn't invite him, Kerman would probably go with him. Hence, Lin Yi decided to ask him to come along. Kuman immediately smiled and nodded, I'm fine. I'm free all day. I know Ching Yi. She's a very famous Chinese singer. I happen to be her fan. Let's go together. Brother Ing, do you have tickets? Do you want me to get someone to buy them? Ching Yi's concert tickets were sold out a month ago. There was no such thing as a scalper in Europe. Only a young master like Kerman would dare to ask for tickets. Lin Yi smiled and said, that's not necessary. We can just go in. Go in? Kerman was a little suspicious, but when he saw Su Shirhan coming out of the resting room, he knew how to get in. Su Shirhan. What was unexpected was that Lyman and Keeman, these two guys that were inseparable, were Shirhan's fans as well. They didn't even care about Lin Yi and the others when they saw Shirhan, rushing over to ask for an autograph and a picture. Sure enough, the young master of a big family was still an ordinary person. He would have the need to chase after celebrities. However, compared to trash like Igor Dopovich, these two brats were obviously more likable. At least they wouldn't show off their status and look down on celebrities and other artists. After a while, Kerman found a long limousine and put Lin Yi and the others in. They left for Blue Rice. There was food, drinks, and entertainment in the car, so they didn't feel that time was short. By the time they reached Lan Mi and Ching Yi's concert venue, the sky was already dark. The group had already eaten their fill in the car, so they didn't need to find a place to eat. Su Shirhan directly brought them to the venue. Of course, the only one who was unhappy was Languza. The limousine wasn't enough for him to eat his fill. A truck was more suitable. With Cheng Yi's arrangements, Lin Yi and the others were seated at the very front. Kerman and Lin Yi were quite pleased with themselves as well. They'd always gotten the best seats for concerts, but this was the first time Su Shirhan had brought them here personally. It was a completely different feeling. A song and dance started the concert. Cheng Yi's voice was different from Su Shirhan's. It lacked the ethereal aura, but it was more fiery and direct. Coupled with her graceful figure and sexy dance, it ignited the atmosphere of the audience. If Su Shirhan was a fairy, then Cheng Yi was a witch. When the two appeared at the same time, the entire venue seemed to explode. The sound waves shot up to the sky. One could see how popular the two were in Europe. They were definitely treated like superstars. After the song, Cheng Yi held Su Shirhan's hand and said shyly, "Today, I'm very happy that so many friends came to my concert. Especially one of them, she's my most important and favorite person." The entire audience burst into a huge uproar. No one had expected that Cheng Yi, who had never been involved in any scandals, would suddenly say such a thing. Lin Yi was also a little stunned. He vaguely knew what Cheng Yi was going to say, but he couldn't do anything right now. After the crowd calmed down, Cheng Yi continued, "I've always liked this person, but I've never confessed. Because he's the person my good sister likes, so I didn't dare to say it. If it was possible, I would never say it. But today, my good sister encouraged me. Happiness is something that you have to fight for yourself. So, I mustered up the courage to confess to him in front of the whole world." Chapter 57:20. Lin Yi sweated profusely. Cheng Yi had already made it so clear. If he still couldn't confirm that he was the one being confessed to, then he would really be an idiot. To be honest, Lin Yi had a good impression of Cheng Yi. Although Cheng Yi approached Su Shirhan as a spy and tried to seduce Lin Yi, everything proved that she was a good girl. Sun Jingyi, Kang Xiaobo, and Lai Changyi all looked at Lin Yi with a mischievous smile. Lin Yi already had a lot of girlfriends. He didn't care if there was another Cheng Yi. Even Sun Jingyi wasn't unhappy at all. This matter would be settled after Cheng Yi said it. The fans all shouted in unison, "Confession! Confession! Confession!" Although Cheng Yi was a super idol, the fans were more appreciative of their idols. They were full of romantic genes. To be able to witness this romantic moment was also very fortunate for them. After getting the encouragement from the fans, Cheng Yi finally gathered her courage and looked at Su Shirhan gratefully. Under Su Shirhan's encouraging gaze, she let go of her hand and slowly walked to the front of the stage. The spotlight followed Cheng Yi. It was as if she was the only person left in the world. When she said the name of the person she was going to confess to, another spotlight would shine on him. The two of them became the protagonists of the world. Suddenly, all the light sources disappeared without any warning. The whole place was plunged into endless darkness. At first, everyone thought that it was the preparation for the confession. Because Cheng Yi was shy, she needed some darkness to boost her courage. Many people laughed out of kindness. Only Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. The moment the light disappeared, Lin Yi's divine sense was completely blocked. Even the people around him couldn't feel it. This was obviously not a normal situation. "Languza! Protect them!" Lin Yi let out a low roar and grabbed Sun Jingyi, who was beside him. He grabbed her slender waist and flew up to the stage. In his memory, Cheng Yi's location was nowhere to be found. Lin Yi didn't stop and continued to rush toward Su Shirhan. At the same time, he shot out tens of zhenqi toward Su Shirhan. In the next moment, Lin Yi's hand held Su Shirhan's slightly cold palm. His heart suddenly calmed down and he whispered, "Shirhan." "Brother Lin, it's me." Su Shirhan's voice was slightly shaky. "There was something trying to catch me just now, luckily you came fast. Where is he?" "I don't know either." Lin Yi answered casually. He shot out a ball of Dan fire and controlled it to circle around the stage. However, the Dan fire could barely light up a foot around him. After flying around, there was nothing. Where was Cheng Yi? The audience finally realized that something was wrong and started to panic. They all screamed because their phones couldn't light up the person next to them. Not to mention the light from the screen, even if they turned on the phone's flashlight function, it was the same. It was as if there was a monster in the darkness that was devouring the light. Lin Yi brought Sun Jingyi and Su Shirhan back to the front row. At this time, it was better for everyone to stay together and take care of each other. 10 seconds later, the lights came back on. The audience's emotions calmed down a little, but Cheng Yi was still nowhere to be seen. The security guards started to appear to maintain the order and let everyone stay calm. Lin Yi's divine sense returned to its original function, but no matter how he looked, he couldn't find any trace of Cheng Yi. A living person completely disappeared under Lin Yi's eyes without leaving a trace. This kind of possibility was almost impossible. But now that it happened, the biggest suspect was only the center. "Brother Lin, where did he go?" Su Shirhan grabbed Lin Yi's arm tightly and asked in panic. Lin Yi shook his head. "I can't find her at the moment, but don't worry, we will find Yi eventually." After comforting Su Shirhan, Lin Yi turned to Languza. "I'll leave this place to you. You must protect their safety. I'll go find Yi." Languza nodded solemnly. "Don't worry, boss. I'll protect them with my life." With his strength, apart from Lin Yi, he was basically invincible in the secular world, so Lin Yi was very relieved. As long as they were by Languza's side, there shouldn't be any problems. After nodding at the crowd, Lin Yi transformed into his primordial spirit form and flew above the concert venue. He expanded his divine sense to almost cover the entire blue rice. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Lin Yi searched, he couldn't find any trace of Cheng Yi. It was as if she had never been here in the first place, completely disappearing without a trace. At the same time, on the flying saucer far away from Lan Mi, Xiaolong was laughing weirdly. Lin Yi, that idiot, how dare he hit me? You always like to act cool in front of me. Are you dumbfounded now? Ha! Let him be arrogant. Now that he can't even protect his woman, let's see how he'll act cool in the future. Chen Dongcheng looked at Xiaolong in disdain from the corner. He really looked down on this guy. He didn't have any skills at all, and yet he always wanted to step on Lin. If it wasn't for his brother Kong Mingming's position in the center, he wouldn't have let him on this flying saucer at all. Chen Dongqing, who already had thoughts of joining Lin Yi's side, felt that the center was hopeless. They were just a bunch of defeated soldiers who didn't dare to fight Lin Yi face to face, and even resorted to kidnapping people. They even let trash like Xiaolong participate in the plan. It was like a joke. How was this even a big deal? It was a pity that Chen Dongqing couldn't go out as he pleased, and he didn't have any tools to contact Lin. Otherwise, this would be a good opportunity to show off. Xiaolong was still laughing maniacally, and Chen Dongqing snorted inwardly. This idiot thought that he could threaten Lin Yi just because he had Qing Yi in his hands? If he got caught by Lin Yi, wouldn't he just die? If he wanted to fight against someone as strong as Lin Yi, the most important thing was to have enough strength to fight him. Otherwise, everything would just be empty talk. Even he, Chen Dongqing, could see through this, but none of the smart people in the center could see through it. It could only be said that they were a bunch of short-sighted rats. Chapter 57:21. In the isolation room, Cheng Yi woke up, but she didn't panic. She calmly observed her surroundings. It wasn't as if she didn't know anyone in the ship, like Xiaolong, the son of Miracle Dr. Kang's family. She knew who he was. Xiaolong? Did you kidnap me? Cheng Yi's eyes stopped on Xiaolong as she said coldly. She reached out and touched the alloy bars in front of her. With her strength, normal bars couldn't stop her. However, as soon as her fingers touched the fence, a strong electric current instantly surged into her body, causing her arm to fly out. Cheng Yi let out a muffled groan, and her whole body fell on her back. Xiaolong turned to the isolation room and laughed. Cheng Yi, don't waste your strength. There's over 10,000 volts of electricity on top of the bars. You're lucky this time, I only touched your fingertip lightly. If you'd grabbed it, I wouldn't have been able to save you. Cheng Yi's entire arm was numb from the electricity, and half of her body had fallen into a strong numbness. She struggled to sit up and said with a sneer, "What's the use of capturing me? Lin Bro will find me soon and save me. When that happens, none of you will be able to escape." "Ha, you're using that idiot Lin Yi to threaten me? You've got some guts." Xiaolong stood up and walked to the bars, looking down at Cheng Yi. "If Lin Yi wants to save you, he'll have to find you first. Of course, I'll give him a chance. As long as he gives me the Miracle Doctor Medicine Group's formula, I won't mind letting him find you. Don't even think about it. I have nothing to do with Lin Yi. You think you can use me to threaten him?" Cheng Yi was glad that she didn't have the chance to confess to Lin Yi. At least now, she and Lin Yi were just normal friends. She shouldn't be used to threaten Lin. Xiaolong paused. This was something he cared about. He wanted to capture Su Shihan or Sun Jingyi. These were the two people Lin Yi cared about. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to capture any of them. They're all useless. I can't even capture the key person. Xiaolong muttered in dissatisfaction. "What did you say? Do you want to die?" Chen Dongqing said coldly. He was a profound ascension stage cultivator. No matter how softly Xiaolong spoke, it couldn't escape his ears. If it was Kong Xiaoming here, Chen Dongqing might have some concerns. After all, he was an important member of Sky-class Island, but Kong Xiaolong was nothing. He wasn't even a cultivator and didn't have any special abilities. If they really killed him, the center probably wouldn't do anything to Chen Dongqing. Xiaolong shivered slightly. He wasn't an idiot, and he knew that he couldn't afford to offend these two masters. He laughed dryly to cover it up and turned to Cheng Yi. "You better pray that Lin Yi comes to exchange for you. If he doesn't, then you're useless. We'll just use you for human experiments. Of course, it's not right to say that you're useless. You're an international superstar, after all. Before the human experiments, I can have a taste of a superstar like you and see how you taste different from other women." Cheng Yi's expression changed slightly, but she didn't say anything. After all, it was useless to say anything. Chen Dongqing looked at Xiaolong with more and more disdain. Although he wasn't a good person in the past, he couldn't stand Xiaolong's shamelessness anymore. If he really had the chance to follow Lin Yi, he could give this trash's head to Lin Yi as a small gift. Shui Jianfeng said faintly, "Don't talk nonsense. I know Lin Yi. He looks kind and righteous on the surface, but he'll protect anyone who's related to him. Even if this Cheng Yi isn't Lin Yi's woman, as long as she's his friend, Lin Yi won't leave her alone. Go back first and wait for Lin Yi to come." Xiaolong glared at Cheng Yi and turned back with a smile. Master Shui's right. Lin Yi's just a hypocrite who likes to put on an act. This means that the plan this time is a success. Chen Dongqing's eyes lit up when he heard Shui Jianfeng's words. He didn't think that Lin Yi was such a protective person. Anyone who followed him wouldn't be at a disadvantage. In other words, switching to Lin Yi was more of a good thing than a bad thing. Unknowingly, the balance in Chen Dongqing's heart tilted towards Lin Yi's direction. If he got the chance, he might just go to Lin Yi's side. Lin Yi flew around Lanmi a few times. His divine sense searched the whole city inch by inch, but he still couldn't find anything. He could only return to the stadium helplessly. During this time, all the audience was evacuated, but the entire stadium was locked down. Cheng Yi's sudden disappearance from the concert was definitely a big incident in this city. If it weren't for the huge number of people, the police wouldn't even allow anyone to leave first. Su Shihan and the others were naturally still in the stadium. They just returned to the backstage. Languza protected everyone meticulously and was ready to make a move at any time. When Lin Yi appeared alone, Su Shihan showed an obvious disappointed expression. Even the omnipotent Lin Yi couldn't find Cheng Yi. Didn't that mean that Cheng Yi was dead? "Boss, didn't you find out?" Languza asked with a rare serious expression. The other party was able to capture someone under his and Lin Yi's eyes. This was indeed very powerful. At the same time, it made Languza lose face. Lin Yi shook his head. But even if we didn't find out, it's still a discovery. From this situation, the only possibility is that the Central Command Center captured Cheng Yi. Since they captured her, they must have a purpose. When the time comes, they will definitely contact me. So don't worry, Cheng Yi is still safe for now. Hearing Lin Yi's words, Su Shihan was slightly relieved. But Cheng Yi falling into the hands of Lin Yi's enemies wasn't a happy thing. They must save her as soon as possible. Unfortunately, there was no clue. They could only wait for the Central Command Center to contact Lin Yi. Chapter 5722. The UFO didn't slow down until it was more than 1,000 meters deep into the sea, slowly gliding towards a trench. When the UFO got closer, the dark trench suddenly lit up with starry lights, and the trench slowly opened up to two sides, revealing a huge metal platform. The UFO landed smoothly on one of the platforms according to the lights and entered the platform. Xiaolong, who was in the UFO, couldn't help but exclaim, "There's a base like this at the bottom of the high seas. It's too shocking. It feels like I'm watching a sci-fi movie. With this kind of power, it'd be easy for the center to rule the world, right?" Chen Dongqing said in disdain, "Don't be surprised." In fact, it was his first time here, and he was equally shocked. However, there wasn't much technology in the ancient Jianghu, so a mobile phone and a base like this didn't make much difference to him. He thought that since there was such an incredible device like a mobile phone, there was nothing to be surprised about. At most, it would be many times bigger than a mobile phone. After the seawater in the elevator was emptied, the sound of a door opening came from the UFO. Shui Jianfeng pressed a button and signaled the two to bring Cheng Yi down. Walking out of the elevator, the glasses doctor was waiting at the door. He ignored Shui Jianfeng and the others and said to Cheng Yi politely, "Miss Cheng, I've heard a lot about you. Your voice is very beautiful, and I've never had the chance to hear you sing live. This time, I've finally invited you as a guest. This is the Sacred Center. Welcome, Miss Cheng." Cheng Yi snorted and didn't pay attention to this guy in glasses at all. No matter how she looked at him, he was a pervert. Why bother with him? If it weren't for the fact that all the meridians in her body were sealed by Shui Jianfeng's pure qi, Cheng Yi might have killed this guy directly. He seemed to be the leader of this group, and also the leader of Lin Yi's enemies. Killing him should be of great help to Lin Yi, right? Miss Cheng doesn't seem to be very happy. It doesn't matter. I will arrange for someone to take Miss Ching to visit our central sacred region first. I believe you will like it here very soon. The doctor smiled nonchalantly and gave an order to his follower to bring Chen Dongqing and Zhaolong around the sacred base, while he brought Xue Jianfeng in another direction. Obviously, in the bespectacled doctor's heart, Xue Jianfeng's position was higher than Chen Dongqing's. This also made Chen Dongqing, who had left, lean towards Lin. Xue Jianfeng didn't ask anything, instead silently following behind the bespectacled doctor. After walking through a long alloy tunnel filled with a sci-fi atmosphere, the bespectacled doctor finally stopped in front of a door. After taking off his glasses, countless rays of light moved from the top of his head all the way to the tip of his toes. A three-dimensional projection appeared on the door, comparing the face, skeleton, iris, and other aspects. After confirming that there was no mistake, the door silently slid open. "Come in." The bespectacled doctor put his glasses back on and said faintly without turning his head. Xue Jianfeng nodded silently and followed in. The room was like a small screening hall. In front of a huge screen, there was a long curved table made of alloy. There were 7 chairs on the side facing the screen. At this time, a young woman was sitting on the chair in the middle. The bespectacled doctor walked to the woman and bowed slightly. "Miss Lan, the person has been captured. What should we do next?" Lan Xiaoru's fingers moved quickly on the table a few times, and the huge screen was instantly divided into hundreds of small screens, showing the important passages of the sacred region in the center. Among them was the scene of Qing Yi, Chen Dongqing, and Kang Zhaolong. Lan Xiaoru nodded. "Qing Yi, she's a good bait. How's the development of the new medicine?" "We've already made a sample. If Miss Lan agrees, why don't we let Xue Jianfeng test the effects of the injection?" The bespectacled doctor didn't care that Xue Jianfeng was behind him. He spoke as if Xue Jianfeng was a normal lab rat. Xue Jianfeng was furious, but if it could increase his strength, then so be it. There was no need to be so calculative. Lan Xiaoru turned to Xue Jianfeng and said faintly, "Xue Jianfeng, you're an elite that the Central is focusing on nurturing. Every time there's a new medicine that can increase your strength, we'll give it to you first. You have to know that the materials to make these medicines are very rare, and the production is very limited. If you're not willing, you can tell us. We'll consider changing people to test it. Of course, we won't give you priority when it comes to medicine in the future." Xue Jianfeng was slightly startled. Although it was still the same meaning, Lan Xiaoru seemed to say it more pleasing to the ear. Even if there was a threatening tone, Xue Jianfeng could accept it. "Miss Lan, please let me use the medicine. I believe that I can handle any new product." Xue Jianfeng was very straightforward. If he couldn't increase his strength, then he would never be able to surpass Lin Yi. This was something he absolutely couldn't accept. Lin Yi was Xue Jianfeng's greatest enemy. Xue Jianfeng had always wanted to kill Lin. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he was suppressed by Lin Yi in all aspects. This made him thirst for strength even more. Even if he had to bear a certain risk, he wouldn't hesitate. Lan Xiaoru didn't know what Xue Jianfeng was thinking. After hearing the answer she wanted, she nodded in satisfaction and said, "Very good. As long as you're willing to cooperate, you'll always be an elite that we focus on nurturing. I called you here to talk about this. You can leave first. After I discuss with the bespectacled doctor, I'll inject you with the new medicine." Xue Jianfeng bowed slightly and agreed respectfully. Then, he turned and left the room. After the room door closed, Lan Xiaoru said to the bespectacled doctor, "How's the effect of the new medicine?" She didn't care about the indicators like safety. The most important thing was the effect. Chapter 57:23. Lan Xiaoru shook her head and said, "There's no time. Let's try it first. I've contacted the main body on Heavenly Island. He said that Lin Yi's spirit was projected over this time. His physical body has no signs of damage after such a long time, which means that his spirit didn't affect his physical body too much." The doctor in glasses raised his head slightly and looked at Lan Xiaoru. "You mean to deal with Lin Yi's spirit with all our strength?" "Of course. Otherwise, do you think I would agree to you guys taking hostages? This kind of retarded blackmail plan is simply an insult to my intelligence. But it's a good choice to use as bait." The doctor in glasses calculated in his mind and felt that this plan was completely feasible. The only thing he needed to worry about was the reaction from the higher-ups. Won't killing Lin Yi's spirit cause an accident from the higher-ups? You have to know that this is different from the previous plan. The doctor in glasses said with some worry. He didn't have the guts to openly disobey the orders from the higher-ups. Lan Xiaoru's fingers gently tapped on the metal table, making a soft sound. Then she said with a smile, the main body said that as long as Lin Yi's physical body doesn't die, there won't be any problems. Since it has been proven that the separation of the spirit won't affect his physical body, then we can take the opportunity to kill Lin Yi's spirit. This is the best opportunity. Anyway, if something happens to his spirit, he can only blame his bad luck. As long as his physical body is alive, we can explain to the higher-ups. In that case, we can give it a try. The doctor in glasses finally nodded in agreement. After all, Lin Yi had given him too much pressure recently. If he could get rid of Lin Yi, it would also be a good thing for him. It's not a try, it must succeed. Lin Yi's growth rate is beyond our imagination. If this continues, he will become a big problem for us sooner or later. A trace of ruthlessness appeared on Lan Xiaoru's face. When the doctor in glasses saw this, he felt a slight chill in his heart. Understood, I'll call Lin Yi now and ask him to come over. Miss Lan, have you thought about how to deal with him? The doctor in glasses took out his phone and asked worriedly. Lan Xiaoru waved her hand and said, do what you need to do first, I will make arrangements for the rest. The bespectacled doctor nodded slightly and did not dare to ask any more questions. He immediately dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi, if you want to save Qing Yi, then make sure that all the formulas of the Godly Doctor Medical Group are ready, and then wait for my call to exchange them. If you don't agree, prepare to collect Qing Yi's body. After the glasses doctor finished speaking quickly, he hung up the phone directly without waiting for Lin Yi to answer. Lan Xiaoru furrowed her brows and said, are you sure it's Lin Yi? The bespectacled doctor was stunned. He looked at the phone and said, there's no mistake. This is Lin Yi's number. It's the latest. Did he speak? What if the person who answered the phone wasn't him? Lan Xiaoru continued to ask. The bespectacled doctor was speechless. After a moment of silence, the bespectacled doctor picked up his phone and said, let me confirm. After dialing again, the bespectacled doctor pretended to be indifferent and asked, are you Lin Yi? It's me. Lin Yi's voice came from the other side, which made the bespectacled doctor heave a sigh of relief. Do you understand what I said just now? It seemed too awkward to hang up just like that, so the bespectacled doctor could only ask casually. I understand. Where is the transaction? Lin Yi was still extremely calm. Wait for my call. The bespectacled doctor hung up again, then said to Lan Xiaoru, it's Lin Yi. After saying that, he suddenly felt like he was acting like an idiot, and it immediately triggered a serious embarrassment. He could only cough and say, I will go and inject the medicine into Shui Jianfeng first. Let me know if there's any news. Then he turned around and left. When Lin Yi heard the busy tone from the phone again, he couldn't help but frown slightly. He didn't know who had contacted him just now. It should be the center, but was it really okay for the center to use such idiots to do things? How did they develop and become so strong? Boss, is there any news about Yi? Kang Xiaobo saw Lin Yi put down his phone, so he quickly asked with concern. Sort of, the other party should be the center. This time, their target is the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's formula, and they want me to use the formula to exchange for Yi. Lin Yi looked at Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, and he didn't intend to hide it. Fortunately, Kelman and Layman were taken away by the Buffon family. Otherwise, if they just signed the contract with them and had to give the formula to someone else, even if they had a good relationship with them, it wouldn't be easy to ask for it. Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi didn't care. After all, this company originally belonged to Lin. Although they had put in all their effort in order to save people, they couldn't care so much. Boss, if that's the case, then let's prepare first. No matter what, Yi's safety is the most important. Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi looked at each other and immediately expressed their stance. Lin Yi nodded and said, I'll see how the situation goes. Let's prepare the things first. Actually, there wasn't much to prepare for these things. Lin Yi was the one who came up with it, so who would know better than him? It was just that Kong Xiaobo and the others were in charge of the company now, and Lin Yi didn't interfere at all, so they still needed to go through this formality. Very quickly, Kong Xiaobo prepared the formula and passed it to Lin Yi, and then they began to wait for the center's call. The center didn't let them wait for too long, and very quickly, they called again, "Lin Yi, find a boat by the sea yourself, and sail it near the international waters. We will contact you when the time comes for the specific location. Remember, you can only come alone. If anyone follows you, you will have to collect Qing Yi's body." Lin Yi said coldly, "I understand, you guys wait." This time, Lin Yi originally planned to go alone, and the other party's request was exactly what he wanted. Of course, if Languza went with him, as a sea dragon, he could still unleash his greatest power in the sea, but Lin Yi still needed Languza to stay behind to protect Su Shihan and Sun Jingyi. Compared to that, this mission was more important. After putting away the phone, Lin Yi didn't wait for the others to ask and directly said to Languza, "Languza, you stay behind to protect them, I will go alone to save you. Don't worry, in this world, there is no one or thing that can threaten me." Sun Jingyi and Su Shihan were a bit worried at first, but after hearing Lin Yi's domineering words, they chose to stay silent. After a few words, Lin Yi transformed into his primordial spirit state and directly flew to the sea. Chapter 57:24. Very good, you didn't play any tricks, did you? Now drive straight to the east, I will inform you when the time comes. Lin Yi didn't find anything with his divine sense. The other party should be observing him through the satellite, right? If that was the case, then Lin Yi really didn't have any other way. Following the other party's instructions, he kept driving east, and after half an hour, he was asked to keep driving south, then west, and then north again. This was directly going around in a circle back to the original point. Knowing that the center was making him go around in circles, Lin Yi didn't take it to heart. These child's tricks were all within his expectations. You're almost out of gas, right? 10 nautical miles south, there is a mobile refueling ship on the sea, you can go there and refuel. The center was quite considerate, calculating that Lin Yi's gas was almost out, and even pointed him to refuel. Lin Yi said coldly, "How long do I have to walk on the sea? When can I trade?" Hee, you're out of patience? Don't worry, go refuel first." After the other party finished speaking, he hung up the phone, and Lin Yi could only go refuel first. In the central holy region at the bottom of the sea, Lan Xiaoru didn't come up with a feasible plan to deal with Lin Yi, because no matter how she thought, in the end, it seemed that there was no way to kill Lin Yi's primordial spirit. Letting Lin Yi take a walk on the sea at the beginning was really to wear down Lin Yi's patience and drive, but in the end, it became something that had no choice, because the action plan against Lin Yi couldn't be established. "How's Xue Jianfeng's condition?" Lan Xiaoru contacted the laboratory and asked. Xue Jianfeng was the strongest means that could threaten Lin Yi now. If Xue Jianfeng could succeed, then they would have more confidence in dealing with Lin Yi. The bespectacled doctor shook his head and said, "There are no side effects from the injection, but the effect is worse than expected, less than 1/10 of the original estimate. Although it can heal itself, the speed is quite slow, and it can't play a decisive role in a battle." What is going on? What is the problem? Lan Xiaoru resisted the urge to roar in anger. It was such a good plan, but the execution was full of loopholes. She was about to go crazy. "I've asked Xiaolong to take a look. Perhaps there's something wrong with Dr. Kang's formula." Xiaolong knocked on the door just as the doctor finished speaking. Xiaolong nodded after taking a closer look. "This recipe has been altered. It's not the original recipe of House Kong. Change it back immediately and continue the experiment." After Lan Xiaoru finished speaking, she forcefully cut off the video communication, rubbed her forehead and sat down. It seemed that Lin Yi's stroll on the sea would have to continue. However, Lin Yi had a lot of patience. It didn't matter if he spent a little more time. He would just take it as watching the scenery. While Lin Yi was cruising on the sea, Dr. Glasses had begun the development of a new potion. Lin Yi did not make many changes. After all, it was impossible for him to make changes in the wrong direction. The technicians in the center were not fools. They might not be able to tell if the potion was weak, but if there was a problem, they wouldn't use it directly. So, the doctor's previous efforts were not in vain. He only made some minor adjustments to the original potion, and it became a new reagent. The materials needed for the potion were precious, but there were spares in the warehouse. In less than half an hour, the new potion was ready. Shui Jianfeng, the previous potion had some flaws, but it should be fine this time. When your genes completely fuse with the potion, you'll be able to recover from the damage you received in battle. That way, you'll have an immortal body. The doctor was afraid that Shui Jianfeng would have other thoughts, so he comforted him with a rare smile. Hearing the words, immortal body, excited Shui Jianfeng. This was the best chance for him to suppress Lin. Of course, he wouldn't give it up. He nodded firmly. Doctor, give me the injection. I'm ready. The doctor nodded with satisfaction and didn't say anything else. He directly pushed the potion in the syringe into Shui Jianfeng's arm. Shui Jianfeng wasn't worried at all because the first injection didn't have any adverse reactions, which meant that the safety of the potion was still very high. In particular, the healing speed of the wound was indeed several times faster than before. So, Shui Jianfeng wasn't worried about the second injection, but he was looking forward to it. After the potion completely entered Shui Jianfeng's body, there was no abnormality at first. After about 10 seconds, Shui Jianfeng suddenly twitched violently. Then, his head tilted and he passed out completely. The doctor was shocked. Shui Jianfeng was now not only a qualified test subject, but he was also the strongest trump card they used to deal with Lin Yi. If something went wrong now, Lan Xiaoru probably wouldn't forgive him. Hurry up and report the status. What's going on? The doctor rushed forward. While checking Shui Jianfeng's physical condition, he shouted orders to the assistants around him. The assistants didn't wait for the doctor to finish and had already started working. After all, this kind of situation often happened in the laboratory. They didn't know the importance of Shui Jianfeng, so they weren't as nervous as the doctor. Heartbeat data is normal, blood pressure is normal, cell activity has increased by 800%, and it's still increasing. Thinking curve is smooth, and he's in a deep coma. An assistant quickly summarized the various indicators to the doctor so that he could grasp Shui Jianfeng's real-time situation immediately. The doctor was instantly relieved. After a careful check, he straightened his back and said, "It's okay. He should be in the process of gene fusion, which is why this happened. He'll probably wake up soon. You guys observe him closely and report to me immediately if there's any abnormality." Doctor. The assistants answered in unison and then continued with the work they were doing. The doctor wiped the sweat off his forehead and then connected to Lan Xiaoru's video call. "Miss Lan, the new potion has been successfully developed. It's been injected into Shui Jianfeng. Initially, it seems that the situation is still relatively stable, but we can only be sure after Shui Jianfeng wakes up." Chapter 5725. Okay, I'll inform them right away. The doctor didn't waste any time and called Dafeng Bro after he cut off the communication with Lan Xiaoru. He was together with Chen Dongqing and Zhao Long, so he informed them as well. 3 minutes later, everyone was gathered in the meeting room. Lan Xiaoru went straight to the point. Everyone here can be considered the backbone of our center. Right now, we need to get rid of Lin, a troublesome enemy. You're all familiar with him, and I want to know if anyone can provide any effective methods? They all looked at each other and didn't speak for a while. If Lin Yi was easy to deal with, he would have died hundreds of times already. Why would they need to discuss this? Plus, Dafeng Bro was Lin Yi's spy, and Chen Dongqing was starting to side with Lin. Even if he thought of something, he wouldn't say it easily. As for Zhaolong, he and Lin Yi were people from two different worlds. The difference was too big, and he didn't dare to say anything even if he wanted to. Lan Xiaoru waited for more than a minute, and seeing that no one was willing to speak, she pointed at Chen Dongqing. "Old Chen, you're close to Lin Yi in terms of strength, and you've dealt with him the most. You should be the one who understands Lin Yi the most. You go first." Chen Dongqing scratched the back of his head and pretended to be dumb. "I don't know. Every time I meet Lin Yi, I'm always the one at a disadvantage, and Lin Yi never looks like he's serious. So, if we're talking about understanding, I'm about the same as everyone else." Lan Xiaoru froze. What he said made sense, but Chen Dongqing said that he was useless in front of his superior. It seemed like he didn't care about his superior's feelings at all. Putting a piece of trash in an important position meant that there was something wrong with his superior's judgment. The doctor coughed and changed the topic. Miss Lan, Lin is only a primordial spirit now, not his real body, so his combat strength is definitely not as strong as his real body. We'll think of a way slowly, and we'll be able to find his weakness eventually. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to slowly think of a solution. Lan Xiaoru snorted. She couldn't keep leaving Lin Yi to go in circles on the sea. If Lin Yi lost his patience and went straight back to Heaven Stage Island, wouldn't all her plans be for naught? Miss Lan, Dr. Glasses? Can I say something? Zhao Long asked weakly, raising his hand. He was a dispensable existence here, and no one cared about him. Even if he wanted to speak, he had to ask for Xiaoru's permission first. Lan Xiaoru glanced at Zhao Long and waved her hand casually. Speak. Zhao Long was suddenly excited. He pinched the knot of his tie and coughed lightly. It's like this, my cousin Kong Ming Ming, Miss Lan, you know him. He's a refiner, and I seem to have heard him mention that a normal primordial spirit is very afraid of refining fire. Since the doctor said that Lin Yi is now a primordial spirit, then can we start from this aspect? Maybe we'll be able to get rid of this annoying bastard. The doctor nodded. That's a good idea. Using refining fire to deal with primordial spirits is the most suitable, but there doesn't seem to be any refiners in the base, so we can't deal with Lin Yi in a short time. Maybe we can use artificial fire to replace it? Chen Dongqing suddenly objected. I don't think that's a good idea. Lin Yi is an elixir refiner himself, and many people know that he has used elixir fire many times in the small world of the immemorial era. If he was really afraid of elixir fire, why would he still use it? Dafeng Bro seized the opportunity and quickly added, Yes, we only have one chance, and we can't be careless. If refining fire doesn't pose a threat to Lin Yi, we'll be in big trouble here, so we must be careful. Lan Xiaoru nodded. You're all right, but this is indeed a feasible method. Dr. Glasses, refining fire may not be of much use to Lin Yi, but you can use the characteristics of refining fire to develop artificial fire, and it might have a miraculous effect. Miss Lan is so wise. But since Lin Yi is so powerful, I think that since we're going to develop artificial fire, we might as well develop a super fire, in case it's not powerful enough and Lin Yi escapes. Zhao Long flattered Lan Xiaoru a little, and then put forward his own idea. He was the same as Kong Ming Ming, wishing that Lin Yi would die quickly. Since there was such an opportunity, of course, he would use it as viciously as possible. Lan Xiaoru immediately made the decision. That's settled, Dr. Glasses, I'll leave this matter to you. Before Xue Jianfeng wakes up, we must develop the super fire. Lin Yi's patience is probably wearing thin. Okay, I'll do it right away. The doctor agreed without hesitation, and then got up and went back to the lab without saying goodbye. Although the super fire was a little difficult, it was much easier than making medicine. The doctor had a plan in mind, and when he went out, a simple design had already been formed. The corner of Chen Dongqing's mouth twitched, thinking to himself, Lin Yi, I can only help you up to this point. If you die in their hands, I won't have to make a choice. As for the calm Dafeng Bro, he was actually very anxious. If he could contact Lin Yi, he would risk his life to inform Lin Yi. Unfortunately, in this base, Dafeng Bro had no way of contacting Lin. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was still going for a spin on the sea, but he wasn't that stupid. He wasn't going to do anything and let the people in the center toy with him. After 2 laps, Lin Yi realized that no matter where he went, he was always going in a circle or a square, not deviating from his course at all. What was the intention of the center doing this? Or, the location of the center's base was actually nearby? With this speculation, Lin Yi simply concentrated his divine sense in one direction. In this way, the accuracy and linear detection length were far from comparable to the previous range detection. Unfortunately, Lin Yi didn't find anything even after scanning the area in 4 different directions. Could it be some divine sense shielding prop? If that's the case, it should also be able to find the blank spots in the divine sense, right? Lin Yi murmured in doubt, and suddenly he had a flash of inspiration. At the bottom of the sea. Chapter 57:26. With this idea in mind, Lin Yi immediately shifted his divine sense to the bottom of the sea. After a while, he really found the central sanctuary hidden under the trench. It's really at the bottom of the sea. They're really well hidden. If it weren't for my powerful divine sense, I might not have been able to find them. Lin Yi said with a sneer. He was already thinking about how to sneak into the trench without anyone noticing. Now, Lin Yi was sure that the center must be using satellite positioning to observe him. Once Lin Yi left the yacht, he would be discovered by the center immediately. If he wanted to sneak into the bottom of the sea without alerting the other party, he had to deceive the satellite in the sky. Although Lin Yi was powerful, he had no way of destroying the satellite in space at the moment. Third Cloud Dragon Appearance. Lin Yi only needed a little thought to find a way. The Third Cloud Dragon Appearance was originally a martial arts technique of the Green Cloud sect. It could allow people to continuously move in the air without the help of external forces. At the same time, it would leave behind a phantom image that was enough to pass off as the real thing. In the current situation, Lin Yi did not need the complete Third Cloud Dragon Appearance. He only needed to leave a phantom image to mislead the satellite. Moreover, it did not need too much time. It was enough for him to enter the underwater base. Copying and modifying martial arts techniques was a piece of cake for Lin. What's more, the Third Cloud Dragon Appearance was originally something of the Green Cloud sect. Lin Yi completed the modification in a breath's time. After setting the yacht to autopilot, Lin Yi directly launched the modified version of the Third Cloud Dragon Appearance. A realistic phantom image sat in the cockpit, while his real body entered the sea through displacement. To enter the central sanctuary, one had to dive more than a kilometer. For ordinary people, they would have been crushed by the terrifying water pressure. However, Lin Yi did not care at all. The moment he entered the water, he transformed into the primordial spirit state and completely ignored the resistance of the sea. The phantom image on the yacht would dissipate in a few minutes. Lin Yi had to approach the central sanctuary and enter it during this time. Fortunately, the primordial spirit state was extremely fast. In less than a minute, it had already appeared above the central sanctuary. It's Lin Yi. The central sanctuary's alarm system suddenly issued a sharp alarm, and a guy on duty in the monitoring room actually discovered Lin Yi's figure. If he had been a few minutes later, the base would have been infiltrated by Lin Yi. At the same time as the alarm sounded, a transparent protective film appeared above the trench. Lin Yi wanted to use his primordial spirit to pass through the protective armor, but it was a little too late. He hit the protective film and was bounced back. What is it? Even my soul can't pass through it? But it doesn't matter. Since the infiltration has failed, I'll just attack them head-on. Lin Yi's face turned cold. He flipped his palms, and in the center of his palms were two perfect super pill firebombs. Boom, boom. Two huge explosions in a row caused the entire seabed to be involved in a huge whirlpool of water and fire. Lin Yi did not dare to get too close to this place. After throwing out the super pill firebombs, he turned into a primordial spirit and quickly retreated several nautical miles. The violent explosion at a depth of a kilometer formed a huge wave on the surface of the sea. It took a few minutes before it gradually subsided. The yacht that Lin Yi had been on was directly overturned and directly turned into floating debris in the sea. When the aftermath of the explosion subsided slightly, Lin Yi appeared above the trench again. However, what made him helpless was that the protective film was still undamaged under the attack of the two super pill firebombs. It was indeed a high-tech thing that could block Lin Yi's primordial spirit state. The strength of its defense was simply incredible. Since Lin Yi had developed the super pill firebomb, this was the first time he had returned without success. Back in the endless sea of the ancient Jianghu, a super pill firebomb could kill a large number of sea monsters in seconds. Haha, too awesome. Dr. Glasses, this base of yours is too awesome. Lin Yi, that pretentious head, has become an idiot this time. Xiaolong saw this scene on the monitor, and his originally frightened emotions immediately turned into excitement. He couldn't help but laugh and dance, looking completely crazy. Glasses also laughed dryly a few times. To be honest, Lin Yi's attack really scared him. This protective film was his proudest work, but just now Lin Yi had almost reached the limit of the protective film. The power output in that instant was no less than the explosion of 2 hydrogen bombs. Lan Xiaoru also came to the Glasses lab and asked with a serious expression, "Dr. Glasses, how is the research on the super pill firebomb?" Chen Dongqing and the others all looked at the Glasses. This was the question they were most concerned about. Of course, everyone's mood was different. Xiaolong definitely wanted to attack immediately and kill Lin Yi directly. Dafeng Bro, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. As for Chen Dongqing, it was a bit complicated. He didn't know which one was more hopeful. The bespectacled doctor's hands moved back and forth on the control panel rapidly, even leaving a series of afterimages behind. However, it was not a problem for him to multitask, so he could still find the time to reply, "Almost there. It'll be done in less than 2 or 3 minutes." He paused for a moment. If our protective film can last for another 2 or 3 minutes, Xiaolong, who had been laughing non-stop, froze. He thought that the protective film wouldn't have any problems, but from the looks of it, it wouldn't last more than 2 or 3 minutes. Chen Dongqing looked at the monitor, agreeing with the Glasses' deduction. He didn't know where the limit of the protective film was, but he could sense that the attack just now had shaken the film. Now that Lin Yi had put his hands together and condensed a super pill firebomb that was bigger than the previous 2 combined, it was hard to say whether or not it would break through the protective film. Lan Xiaoru narrowed her eyes and ordered, "Send all the instantaneous energy into the protective film. We can't let Lin Yi in so easily." The so-called instantaneous energy was all the energy in a short period of time to supply the protective film. If it was used like this for a long time, the oxygen supply system in the base would be paralyzed, so it couldn't be used like this all the time. Chapter 57:27. Execute the order. Lan Xiaoru completely ignored Big Brother Dafeng and shouted in a deep voice. The bespectacled doctor did not hesitate and immediately completed the input of the order. In an instant, the entire base fell into complete darkness. Only the outer layer of defense shone brightly. At the same time, Lin Yi's super alchemic firebomb descended again. It was even louder than the previous 2 super alchemic firebombs. The raging fire even burned up all the seawater in this area in an instant. The blazing light was like a new sun being born in the dark seabed. The entire terrain of the trench was flattened by the aftermath of this terrifying explosion, completely revealing the huge metal monster in the center of the sacred zone. The layer of defense trembled violently as if it would shatter at any time. However, after a while, this fluctuation and trembling slowly subsided. Lin Yi, who had retreated to a distance again, had an ugly expression on his face. His divine sense could observe that the layer of defense was almost at its limit, but it still managed to withstand it. If the power of the super alchemic firebomb was a little stronger, it might have been successfully broken. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the super alchemic firebomb was, it was difficult for Lin Yi to control it. Once it was thrown out, it might not be able to retreat in time. Lin Yi himself would also be pulled into the vortex of the explosion. That would really be courting death. Miss Lan is really wise. If it weren't for your prompt decision, this layer of defense would definitely have been destroyed. After the energy supply of the base was restored, the bespectacled doctor quickly input a series of complex instructions again. He did not forget to compliment Lan Xiaoru. "This time, we should be able to buy more time. You should speed up the progress. I don't think Lin Yi will give up just like that." Lan Xiaoru did not have the slightest smile on her face. From the recovered monitoring, she could see that he was rushing over like lightning again. The consumption of the defensive layer needed time to replenish. Even if it was only for a few seconds, it was still a blank period. Lan Xiaoru naturally knew this weakness very well. The first time, because of the aftermath of the 2 super pill firebombs, Lin Yi chose to watch from afar and condense a new and more powerful super pill firebomb. But this time, Lin Yi did not continue to wait. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi passed through the aftermath of the explosion and appeared above the central sanctuary defense layer. The modified version of the Cloud Dragon's third appearance allowed him to move like a ghost. He moved 3 times in a row, avoiding most of the remaining explosive power, and arrived at the place he wanted to go almost unscathed. The murderous aura of the 5 elements transformed into a flood dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it let out a silent roar. It directly engulfed the seawater within it, and like a falling meteorite, it struck the defensive layer. There was a huge tremor. Circles of ripples spread out in an instant, and Lin Yi's body was also bounced back, but his attack was effective. Traces of cracks began to appear on the defensive layer where the 5 elements flood dragon struck, and then faster and faster, and in just a breath's time, the cracks had spread to the entire defensive layer. How is this possible? Isn't this an energy-converted defensive layer? Why are there cracks that look like they're real? Lan Xiaoru looked at all this on the monitoring screen in shock, and could not help but exclaim. The bespectacled doctor did not raise his head, and his fingers were moving so fast that they were almost broken. Even so, he still had time to answer, those cracks are not real cracks, but formed by Lin Yi's true qi. The confrontation between the 2 kinds of energy produced this kind of phenomenon that looks like it's real. Miss Lan, you don't have to worry about it. Hurry up and get your super flame out. Lan Xiaoru could not help but yell. At this time, he was still in the mood to talk instead of getting down to business. The bespectacled doctor also smiled bitterly to himself. He did not slack off at all. It was really hard to have a female boss. When Lan Xiaoru finished this sentence, the entire defensive layer collapsed, turning into spots of white light in the dark seawater, floating and swaying, and disappearing without a trace. Lin Yi, who was bounced back, did not hesitate. His figure moved, and he rushed to the center of the Holy Land again. Since he had been discovered by the other party, Lin Yi could only enter as quickly as possible and rescue Cheng Yi. Otherwise, when the people inside reacted, Lin Yi would be too passive. Alright. The bespectacled doctor pressed the last enter key, and his fingers trembled violently. He did not feel it when he was in the state of overload just now, but now that he had stopped, the side effects became apparent. However, compared to the completion of the mission, such a trivial matter did not need to be concerned at all. In the surveillance screen, as soon as Lin Yi approached the alloy armor, a layer of blazing white flames suddenly rose, directly evaporating the seawater in front of Lin. Lin Yi, who was rushing forward, saw the jade pendant wildly vibrating in his mind, causing Lin Yi to turn around and fly back. The third appearance of the cloud dragon once again helped Lin Yi avoid a disaster. After a series of flashes and displacements, he finally escaped from the danger perception area. Amazing! What kind of flame is this? Lin Yi could not help but feel a lingering fear. His primordial spirit body had only felt a trace of heat from the flame, and it was already aching as if it was about to melt. If he was caught in the flame head-on, even if Lin Yi's primordial spirit body could use alchemic fire, he would definitely not be able to resist it for even a second. It worked. The bespectacled doctor jumped up abruptly. The fact that Lin Yi was forced back meant that his research was correct. This super flame was enough to threaten Lin Yi's life. What the hell? Lan Xiaoru slammed her palm on the alloy table as the bespectacled doctor jumped up. I can't believe he got away. If I was just a fraction of a second later, I would have been able to catch this cunning bastard. Xiaolong clenched his fist, wanting to cheer along with the bespectacled doctor, and smashed his other fist downwards, wanting to express the same regret as Lan Xiaoru. He felt like he was being torn apart, but he failed to express either of those feelings. He froze there looking very funny, but no one here had time to bother with him. The bespectacled doctor recovered his fingers and started working on the control panel again. The entire sacred base was very big, and the super flame couldn't cover it all. That would consume too much energy, and he wouldn't be able to last long. The bespectacled doctor had no choice but to focus on defense and attack, manually controlling where the super flame would appear. This way, he would be able to control the energy consumption to a level that was sufficient to make up for it. Chapter 57:28. The bespectacled doctor continued to control it with both hands. At the same time, he turned his head and smiled bitterly. Miss Lan, the defensive layer just now mobilized all the instantaneous energy, so the base's energy level has not fully recovered. The super flame that was just completed only used basic energy. It's already a very good result to be able to force Lin Yi back. After all, Lan Xiaoru was not an ordinary person. When she heard this, her eyes immediately lit up. You mean that as long as this super flame has enough energy support, it can turn defense into offense and directly attack Lin Yi in the distance? Yes, Miss Lan is indeed wise. However, now our energy is not enough to threaten Lin Yi at this distance, so for the time being, we can only focus on defense and not let Lin Yi attack our base. Take this opportunity to slowly accumulate energy, strive for an explosion, and completely destroy Lin Yi, the bespectacled doctor said with a relaxed expression. When the super flame was completed, he already had this plan in his mind. Now that he said it, he also wanted to show off in front of Lan Xiaoru. Very good. Bespectacled doctor, you must block Lin Yi outside. Now focus. Lan Xiaoru pointed to the monitor screen and said to the bespectacled doctor. Lin Yi tried to rush to the base several times, but no matter where he was, as long as he got close to the alloy armor, the blazing white flame would definitely appear. Fortunately, Lin Yi was prepared and did not suffer any damage. However, these flames really gave Lin Yi a headache. Even the shadow and displacement of the Cloud Dragon's triple appearance could not avoid the flames, so Lin Yi was really at his wit's end. In fact, it was impossible for the bespectacled doctor to distinguish between the shadow and the real body of Lin Yi's triple appearance, but he did not need to do so at all, because the bespectacled doctor was not a powerful cultivator. As a scientific researcher, he only needed to use the equipment to lock onto the fluctuations of Lin Yi's primordial spirit. The analysis of a supercomputer was sometimes more reliable than an expert. After Lin Yi pulled away, he tried to use the super alchemic fire bomb to bomb the alloy armor. Unfortunately, this kind of armor was very strong, and the super alchemic fire bomb was burned and assimilated by the super flame, so its power was greatly reduced. When it landed on the center of the Holy Land, it at most left some traces. It could not cause enough damage at all. It seems that the super alchemic fire bomb won't work. I have to try other moves. Lin Yi frowned slightly and filtered his moves in his mind. Suddenly, he slapped his forehead and said, "Why did I go so far? I should have used this move." In the deep sea, the power of using a super pill firebomb would be reduced. After all, this boundless seawater would always have an effect on flames. Even if a portion of the seawater was instantly evaporated, it would immediately be replenished. Although the power of the super flame in the center was already great, and it could turn the surrounding seawater into a vacuum every time, it would not be. In the water, he should use martial arts that could make use of water resources, such as thunder and lightning. Because Lin Yi was thousands of meters deep under the sea, he subconsciously felt that thunder and lightning would not appear in such a deep sea, but he forgot that his own thunder and lightning martial arts did not need to descend from the sky. After understanding this, Lin Yi immediately took action. In a flash, he appeared not far away from the center of the Holy Land base. With a point of his finger, a thunder and lightning appeared out of thin air and hit the armor of the base without any hindrance in the water. This time, Dr. Glass's super flame could not react in time. Not everyone could see the trajectory of lightning clearly. In comparison, the attack speed of the super alchemic firebomb was like a snail. Even if Dr. Glasses could see the trajectory of Lin Yi's thunder and lightning, his hand speed could not keep up with the attack speed of the thunder and lightning. With a crackling sound, Lin Yi's thunder and lightning jumped and flickered on the armor, causing the lights in a small area to flicker. It was just a tentative attack, but it had already consumed a lot of the base's energy reserve. Lin Yi was overjoyed. He knew that he had finally found a way to deal with this huge tortoise shell. Lan Xiaoru's expression changed slightly. She hurriedly asked, "How's the energy reserve? Can we attack Lin Yi?" She knew very well that Lin Yi was only testing the base this time. Next, he would launch a large-scale thunder and lightning attack. If she could not counterattack immediately, the energy would only be consumed more and more by him. The bespectacled doctor's forehead was also sweating. He knew the situation of the entire base best, and he naturally knew the consequences of every slight change. Hearing Lan Xiaoru's question, his fingers moved faster and faster, but this time, he didn't even have time to speak. Lan Xiaoru also knew that Dr. Glasses was under a lot of pressure now, so she did not ask any more questions. She walked directly to his side and quickly operated the other control computer. Energy accumulation at 78%. Attack range of 2 kilometers. Hit rate 62%. Kill rate 51%. In the blink of an eye, Lan Xiaoru found the information she wanted to know. Her expression finally looked better. She nodded slightly and said, "More than 50% hit rate and kill rate. We can already take a gamble. Miss Lan, we only have one chance. We must be careful." Brother Dafeng took 2 steps forward and approached Dr. Glasses. He advised with a solemn face, "The hit rate is only 62%. If we can't hit him, then everything will be over. Even if we hit him, the chance of killing Lin Yi is only 50%. It's better to wait a little longer and let the energy accumulate more." Brother Dafeng's thinking was very simple. He just wanted to buy as much time as possible for Lin Yi. Even if he could only buy a few more seconds, it was very likely to affect the overall situation. "Shut up." Lan Xiaoru did not turn her head. She did not have time to care about Brother Dafeng now. After reprimanding him, she quickly opened the attack control interface. With her authority, of course, she could control all the systems of the entire base. Moreover, her control level was not inferior to Dr. Glasses. Of course, Dr. Glasses would not object. With Lan Xiaoru's participation, his burden would be slightly reduced. Moreover, the two of them had been working together for a long time. They had quite a tacit understanding, so there would definitely be no problems. Chapter 5729. In particular, Lan Xiaoru had mercilessly rejected his 2 suggestions just now, which proved this point. If something happened to Lin Yi, the next one would probably be Brother Dafeng's turn. The Central had always pursued the strategy of killing the wrong person rather than letting them go. The best outcome for him was to be sent as a test subject. At this time, Chen Dongqing sighed in his heart. To be honest, his heart was now more inclined towards Lin. However, if Lin Yi was finished, he could only continue to follow the Central. It was just that Chen Dongqing was really a little afraid after seeing the Central's cold methods and stone-hearted methods. He felt that following the Central would not end well in the end. Outside, Lin Yi realized that the lightning attack was effective, so he immediately decided to use his strongest lightning-type martial art, lightning burial. Even though it was thousands of meters deep under the sea, when Lin Yi used lightning burial, it still attracted the clouds in the sky. In an instant, countless dark clouds gathered, and lightning crisscrossed among them, ready to strike at any time. In the Central Sanctuary Laboratory, the bespectacled doctor and Lan Xiaoru had turned on the attack control system at the same time and began to lock onto Lin. They could launch a powerful super flame attack at any time. They could even imagine the scene of the blazing white flame beam instantly burning a vacuum waterway and completely annihilating Lin Yi. However, at this moment, Lin Yi smiled coldly. He raised his arm and swung it down, activating his strongest lightning-type martial art. Lightning burial. Countless lightning bolts crossed the barrier between the sky and the sea, cutting through the dark deep-sea space at the speed of light, and descended on the entire Central Sanctuary. The bespectacled doctor and Lan Xiaoru's fingers had already pressed on the launch button, but the sudden attack of lightning burial caused the entire base's circuits and instruments to instantly malfunction. Whether it could be repaired or not, at least this time, the attack could not be launched in time. Damn it! The bespectacled doctor was paralyzed by the 2 electric arcs that jumped up from the console. He could only exclaim and take 2 steps back. Brother Dafeng's eyes flashed. Now that the bespectacled doctor was less than half a step away from him, there was no time to think. He had already stretched out his hand, looking like he was going to help the bespectacled doctor. In fact, his palm directly passed through the bespectacled doctor's shoulder and grabbed the bespectacled doctor's throat like a ghost. "Boss Lin Yi, Dafeng can only help you this much. You'll have to rely on yourself in the future." The corners of Brother Dafeng's mouth curled up into a smile. There was a sense of duty in his heart. He did not hesitate to crush the bespectacled doctor's throat. If Lin Yi died, Dafeng Bro would die as well. If Lin Yi didn't die and the glasses doctor and Lan Xiaoru escaped, Dafeng Bro would still be in danger. So, Dafeng Bro made up his mind to get rid of one by one. If Chen Dongqing was not here, Brother Dafeng might have considered taking the bespectacled doctor as a hostage. However, with Chen Dongqing, a supermaster in the early stage of profound ascension, he did not dare to take this risk. The difference in their levels was too great. Chen Dongqing's aura alone was enough to make him completely immobile. It was better to directly kill the bespectacled doctor and break one of his arms. After killing the bespectacled doctor, Brother Dafeng closed his eyes and waited for death, ready for Chen Dongqing's revenge. Chen Dongqing did indeed rush over, but he did not pay attention to Brother Dafeng at all. Instead, he avoided him and directly attacked Lan Xiaoru. The powerful qi was like a substance, easily penetrating Lan Xiaoru's heart. Since Chen Dongqing had already made his move, he did not have the slightest intention of holding back. After shattering Lan Xiaoru's heart, he waved his hand to the side. The qi broke out of Lan Xiaoru's body and cut half of Lan Xiaoru's body. Only a small part of her chest was still connected to her left shoulder. Lan Xiaoru fell to the ground like a broken sack. Brother Dafeng felt that something was wrong. He opened his eyes in surprise and did not understand why this happened. Haha, I didn't expect it. You're the one who killed me. Lan Xiaoru, who had fallen to the ground, suddenly laughed strangely and spoke clearly. Chen Dongqing and Brother Dafeng were both shocked. A normal person would have died a long time ago after suffering such a serious injury. Even a powerful cultivator would not be able to continue living, but this Lan Xiaoru could still speak? Are you surprised? To tell you the truth, it's impossible for you to kill me because I'm immortal. As Lan Xiaoru spoke, she propped up the broken body with both hands and tore off the part that had not been broken. As powerful as Chen Dongqing was, he could not help but be shocked by this terrifying scene. He did not know how to react for a while. No matter who it was, seeing a person with only a head, half of his chest, and 2 arms casually tearing his body apart on the ground, and then talking with a strange smile, they would have a creepy feeling. Chen Dongqing was no exception. On the contrary, Brother Dafeng had been in the center for a long time. He had also been in the cyborg base, so his psychological endurance was stronger. He immediately pulled out a dagger and said fiercely, "Immortal? I can't kill you? Then I'll chop you up and feed you to the dogs. Let's see if you'll die or not." Seeing that Brother Dafeng was about to rush over, Lan Xiaoru did not panic at all. Instead, she glanced at Brother Dafeng disdainfully and said, "Is this all you're capable of? Do you only know how to deal with me in this state?" Brother Dafeng was stunned. Although he did not feel embarrassed, after hearing what Lan Xiaoru said, he remembered that Lan Xiaoru in this state might be more useful to Lin. Therefore, Brother Dafeng simply put away the dagger and said, "Forget it, I'll keep you for a while. I'll deal with you later." "Ha, Dafeng, I knew you were a traitor a long time ago, and I wanted to keep you alive for a while to deal with you later, just to numb Lin Yi's senses. I didn't think you'd be so smart, seizing the perfect opportunity to betray me. Now I'll let you keep me alive for a while. Not bad, not bad. Or even now. The next time you fall into my hands, you can just wait for death." Lan Xiaoru said with a laugh. She was not afraid at all. Chapter 5730. What key training target? Is it a guinea pig for key experiments? Chen Dongqing interrupted Lan Xiaoru's words and sneered, "If the center really values me, they would have removed the poison in my body by now. Is this why you betrayed us? If you mend your ways now and kill Dafeng, I can let bygones be bygones. I can also promise to remove the poison in your body for you. What do you think?" Lan Xiaoru said faintly. However, the conditions she stated made Big Brother Dafeng extremely shocked. If Chen Dongqing agreed to it, then he would be finished. Fortunately, Chen Dongqing did not waver at all. He still sneered, "I don't think I'm a fool. Rather than believing a woman like you, I might as well believe in my own judgment. Since I made a move against you, there is absolutely no possibility of turning back." Lan Xiaoru didn't seem surprised at all. She even nodded slightly and said, "Sure enough, since that's the case, you, Chen Dongqing, have become a target that our center must kill. I hope you can be mentally prepared." Offending the people from the center won't end well. Is that so? Lin Yi's fate is really miserable, Chen Dongqing said disdainfully to Lan Xiaoru with a face full of ridicule. Looking at Lin Yi's lively appearance, Lan Xiaoru's words about offending the center would not end well was simply a joke. Big brother Dafeng suddenly laughed. Lin Yi and the center were old rivals. From the secular world to the heavenly island, then to the ancient underworld, and back to the secular world. It seemed that Lin Yi had never suffered any losses in the confrontation between the two sides. Lan Xiaoru snorted and said, "You are right. Lin Yi's fate will be miserable in the end, and you two traitors will be 100 times more miserable than him." Mr. Lin Yi's fate would be miserable. At this time, he condensed another super alchemy fire bomb and threw it at the sacred zone. The thunder burial just now did not damage much of the surface armor. At most, it left some small potholes and thick black scorch marks. However, it did not matter. The main purpose of the thunder burial was to destroy the circuits and instruments of the entire base. Now, only a thick tortoise shell was left in the central sanctuary. There was no energy to support the defense anymore. That was why Lin Yi didn't even use his strongest super alchemic fire bomb this time. He only used an ordinary one, which was able to easily blast open the surface armor. Seeing the seawater instantly filling up the hole, Lin Yi suddenly realized that he could not destroy it like this. After all, Cheng Yi was still inside. Fortunately, this big hole was only a lift cabin. There were water insulation measures below, so it was not a big problem. Lin Yi entered, transformed into his essence soul state, and directly penetrated the alloy wall below. Without the first layer of defense and super flames, Lin Yi had no problem doing this. With a sweep of divine sense, Cheng Yi's position clearly appeared in Lin Yi's sea of consciousness. It seemed that she had not suffered any injuries. This made Lin Yi greatly relieved. It was good that she was not injured. On the other side, Brother Dafeng and Chen Dongqing stood together. The bespectacled doctor on the ground was already dead, and Lan Xiaoru's injuries were also very strange, which made Lin Yi a little curious. What's going on? Chen Dongqing also betrayed us? Lin Yi suddenly felt a little strange, but he had guessed the truth. He wanted to go and take a look now, but his primary goal was to rescue Cheng Yi. Anyway, Brother Dafeng did not seem to be in danger. After a few flashes, Lin Yi appeared outside the room where Cheng Yi was imprisoned. He casually broke the lock outside, opened the door, and smiled. "Yi, your concert is not over yet. If you don't go back, your fans will ask you for a refund." Before she finished speaking, Cheng Yi directly threw herself into Lin Yi's arms and hugged Lin Yi tightly. She smiled happily. "Brother Lin, I knew you would come to save me. Sure enough, I didn't guess wrong. You really came." Feeling the exquisite and delicate body in his arms, Lin Yi smiled awkwardly. "I came a little late, and I made you suffer." "You're not late. Brother Lin, you came very quickly." Cheng Yi hooked her arms around Lin Yi's neck, raised her head, and said with a smile. That charming look really made Lin Yi a little moved. When Cheng Yi tried to seduce Lin Yi, he didn't care at all. But now, seeing Cheng Yi's true feelings, coupled with the confession that he didn't complete before, Lin Yi was really moved. "Okay, let's leave here first and go see the leaders in the center." Lin Yi smiled slightly. Now was not the time to talk about love. He patted Cheng Yi's back lightly and led her to Brother Dafeng and the others. But before they got there, Lin Yi's consciousness discovered that Xue Jianfeng and Zhao Long had sneakily boarded the UFO and were in a state of activation. Xue Jianfeng was originally unconscious, but Lin Yi's lightning burial sent a large amount of electricity into the circuit and woke him up. Because of the new potion, although Xue Jianfeng was slightly injured, he recovered immediately. After Xue Jianfeng woke up and realized the current situation, he did not think about such a boring thing as saving Lan Xiaoru, nor did he want to avenge the glasses doctor. Instead, he sneaked to the place where the UFO was parked, ready to escape from here. Although this guy had been genetically modified, he was still afraid of Lin Yi and didn't dare to fight Lin Yi at all. He was afraid that he would be killed by Lin Yi if he couldn't win. Of the 36 stratagems, escape was the best. He met Zhao Long, who had the same idea, and decided to bring him along. By the time Lin Yi noticed it, the ship had already activated its emergency escape system, ready to eject at a moment's notice. Even if Lin Yi wanted to stop them, he wouldn't be able to make it in time. He could only let the two cockroaches continue running. Lin Yi, I'll come back for you. Now that I have an undying body, I'll be able to kill you when I get stronger, you bastard. Just you wait. Xue Jianfeng only dared to show off with his mouth, but his hands betrayed his cowardice. He quickly pressed the preset cruise route, and the UFO flew directly to the second base. Lin Yi shook his head as he felt the UFO leave. He didn't care about Xue Jianfeng and Zhao Long anymore. They were just two small fries. It was no big deal if they ran away. Chapter 5731. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go? The internet provides you with wonderful novels to read. Big Brother Dafeng turned his head and bowed with joy. Boss Lin, you are here. The two leaders of the center are here. Unfortunately, this woman cannot be killed. Lin did not care about Lan Xiao. He nodded to Big Brother Dafeng and asked Chen Dongqing, Chen Dongqing, what do you mean by this? Martial uncle, this disciple wants to return to the sect. Chen Dongqing bowed respectfully and treated Lin Yi with the etiquette of a junior. This Mr. Dafeng is also Martial uncle's man, right? He can prove that this disciple is sincere. Just now, this disciple also participated in the killing. Big Brother Dafeng quickly nodded and said, yes, Boss Lin Yi, I can prove that Chen Dongqing really helped. When I killed the bespectacled doctor just now, I was prepared to be killed by Chen Dongqing, but I didn't expect that not only did he not kill me, but he also attacked Lan Xiaoru. Otherwise, I would be dead now, and Lan Xiaoru would have run away. Lin Yi nodded and said with a slight smile, you did a good job. Let's talk about this later. I will talk to Lan Xiaoru first. Lan Xiaoru snorted and said, Lin Yi, I didn't expect you to really kill your way here. I underestimated you. You are really not simple, but it doesn't matter. The outcome between us has not been decided yet. Boss, this woman is a biohuman. Her current injuries are not enough to kill her. Big Brother Dafeng whispered in Lin Yi's ear. Lin Yi shrugged indifferently and said, what biohuman? I will blow her up and burn her to ashes. I don't believe she won't die. Lan Xiaoru laughed and said, Lin Yi, you are wrong. When I say immortal, I don't mean this body. This biohuman body is just a clone of my main body. You can do whatever you want with it. Anyway, it will not hinder my main body. As long as there are cells and genes, I can clone and regenerate infinitely. Remember, the center is eternal. This is just a base. Our battle has just begun. Then, see you next time. Lin Yi's expression changed. He directly waved his hand and sent Lan Xiaoru flying with his qi. At the same time, he continued to increase the amount of qi and wrapped her in it. With a boom, Lan Xiaoru self-destructed. Even Lin Yi's pure qi was almost unable to restrain her self-destruction. Fortunately, it was a close shave and no one was hurt. This woman is really decisive. She's been talking nonsense with you guys for so long just to wait for me to come over. Then she wants to see if she can hurt me by self-detonating. It's a good thing that she wanted to wait for me to come over. Otherwise, the two of you would be in danger if you were caught off guard. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. He was a little more afraid of this enemy. He was scheming, capable, and had the support of the center's resources. He was not easy to deal with. Lin Yi suddenly felt a headache when he thought of such a difficult opponent who could be reborn infinitely. This matter was really not fun. He thought that he could get rid of the center this time, but it turned out to be such a result. Although it was not without gain, he still did not get rid of the big trouble. It was always trouble. Looking at the body of the glasses doctor on the ground, Lin Yi thought to himself, this guy can't also be a clone, right? If that's the case, then there's no end to it, boss. Fortunately you came. Otherwise, this woman might have been impatient and self-destructed. Chen Dongqing may be fine, but it's hard to say for me, Dong. Seeing Lan Xiaoru exploding into a cloud of blood mist, Dafeng said with lingering fear. Chen Dongqing quickly said, this time, it's really thanks to Grandmaster. Otherwise, I would have been seriously injured if I was not prepared. With Chen Dongqing's strength in the early stage of profound ascension, even if he was not prepared, he would at most be slightly injured. This was completely to please Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded to Chen Dongqing and said, "Since you are sincere, I will not reject you. As long as you can do things to satisfy me, I will never treat you badly." Chen Dongqing was overjoyed and said, "Thank you, Martial Granduncle. I won't let you down." After that, Chen Dongqing looked at Lin Yi with hope. The main reason why he joined Lin Yi was that Lin Yi could cure the poison in the center. Otherwise, he really did not dare to betray the center. Lin Yi was certainly aware of this, so he waved to him and said, "Give me your hand, I will show you the poison in your body." Chen Dongqing was overjoyed. He did not expect Lin Yi to be so straightforward. He immediately ran over, bowed and stretched out his hand for Lin Yi to check. As for detoxifying this poison, Lin Yi was already very familiar with it, and it was done very quickly. Chen Dongqing clearly felt his body relax, but he also knew who gave him his freedom, so he immediately cupped his fists and bowed, kneeling on one knee. "Master, this disciple will definitely go through fire and water for you in the future. I won't hesitate to do anything for you. If there's anything you want, this disciple will definitely complete it with my life." Lin Yi casually waved his hand and said faintly, "Helping you remove the poison is to repay you for letting Dafeng go. Although you said that you want to join me, I still can't believe you. Now, I will give you two choices. First, you can leave immediately and we will have nothing to do with each other. In any case, the poison in your body is gone. As long as you don't provoke me in the future, with your strength, there is no need to worry about not having a foothold in the immemorial era or in the secular world." Chen Dongqing was immediately moved. Being able to come and go freely seemed like a very good choice. If Lin Yi was not just testing him, then he could consider it. However, Lin Yi did not seem to be such a despicable person. In that case, what he said should be the truth. Lin Yi looked at the subtle changes on Chen Dongqing's face, and the corner of his mouth curved into a faint smile. He continued, "The second option is for you to follow me, but you have to take the poison I'll give you. Before you prove your loyalty, I won't give you the antidote. After all, you and I used to be enemies, and I won't let an enemy follow me easily. Do you understand what I mean?" Chen Dongqing was slightly startled. Of course, he understood what Lin Yi meant. Moreover, he felt that Lin Yi's method was not wrong. If it was him, he would do the same. The problem was that he had just removed the poison from his heart. Did he still have to accept Lin Yi's poison? What was the difference between that and the heart? Chapter 5732. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go? To provide you with wonderful novels to read. But was this really what he wanted? Chen Dongqing opened his mouth, but he couldn't say a word. On second thought, the people who followed Lin Yi, such as Bing Wuqing and Xan Yijie, were leveling up at a speed comparable to the forced leveling up method in the center. Primordial Invincible and the others had even advanced to the more perfect profound ascension stage. Chen Dongqing didn't want to stop here, so following Lin Yi was his only choice at the moment. It was a long story, but Chen Dongqing had already made up his mind. He immediately put his other knee on the ground, raised his hands above his head, bowed his head and said respectfully, "Disciple is willing to follow Grandmaster. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. Grandmaster, please give me the medicine." Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction. Chen Dongqing could be so sensible, he could be trained well in the future. He really wanted to set Chen Dongqing free, but since Chen Dongqing wanted to follow, Lin Yi wouldn't reject an early-stage profound ascension expert as a follower. Taking out a refined poison, he placed it in Chen Dongqing's palm. Chen Dongqing bowed slightly, then swallowed it without hesitation. Since he had decided, Chen Dongqing was a straightforward person, he wouldn't do anything sloppy. This way, he could leave a good impression on Lin Yi. Lin Yi was very satisfied with Chen Dongqing's actions. He reached out and pulled him up. "Well, you can follow me from now on. I won't let you suffer any losses. As for whether to go back to the immemorial Jianghu, we'll talk about it later." "Yes, Grand Master." Of course, Chen Dongqing didn't have any objections. From now on, he would do whatever Lin Yi said. Maybe he could get the antidote soon, and maybe Lin Yi would accept him sincerely. Please note, the last-minute countdown of the self-destruct program, 60:59. An electronic voice suddenly sounded throughout the base. and the countdown began. Everyone's expression changed. They didn't expect such a change. Lin Yi immediately thought of the flying saucer that flew away and Lan Xiaoru's strange smile. Perhaps the self-destruct program had already started at that time, and it only started to remind and count down at the last minute. There was no time to hesitate. Lin Yi shouted in a low voice, "Let's go!" Then he used his true qi to carry Big Brother Feng and Cheng Yi and rushed out of the laboratory. Chen Dongqing was the only one that Lin Yi didn't need to worry about. After all, he was an early-stage profound ascension expert. Even if the entire base exploded, it might not be able to hurt him. However, Cheng Yi and De Feng were still unable to withstand such damage. 58. The cold electronic voice announced the time of the final explosion at a uniform speed. Lin Yi's divine sense swept across the entire base. He had already discovered the location of the submarine dock that was normally used by the center. The only problem was, could he activate the submarine in time? The laboratory was located in the middle of the base, while the dock was at the very edge of the base. With Lin Yi's speed, it would probably take him 20 seconds to reach there, leaving 30 seconds to activate the submarine and leave. The problem was that when Lin Yi was an assassin, the submarine piloting skills he had learned were already outdated. The center's latest model of submarine was even more advanced than the current world's most advanced ones, so he might not be able to start it. 57. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and still brought Cheng Yi and De Feng to the direction of the dock. Chen Dongqing followed closely behind Lin. Previously, Lin Yi used his primordial spirit to penetrate the wall, but now that he was bringing people, he couldn't do that anymore. Therefore, the dock was the best choice to go out. Even if Lin Yi didn't know how to pilot this kind of submarine, he could only go there. De Feng, do you know how to pilot the center's submarine? Lin Yi remembered that De Feng was also a high-ranking member of the base, so he asked casually. If he knew how to pilot it, it would be much easier. With the two of them working together, it would be much easier to pilot the submarine. Otherwise, even if they left the base, they wouldn't be able to return to land. Not to mention the impact of the depth of thousands of meters. Without the submarine, they would probably be trapped at sea. Yes, boss, I will. De Feng shouted loudly, afraid that Lin Yi couldn't hear him clearly. Lin Yi was overjoyed. It seemed that there was always a way. 40. There were only 40 seconds left before the explosion, and Lin Yi and the other three had arrived at the dock of the submarine. Along the way, Lin Yi used the super alchemic firebomb to open the way and rushed in a straight line. He really didn't waste any time and finally got a few more seconds of buffer. Boss, it will take at least 30 seconds to start and leave. We must get to the control room immediately. De Feng was also anxious. Who would be willing to die if they could live? It seemed that there was enough time, but it was also very tight. Lin Yi nodded to show that he understood. He appeared on the hatch of a submarine like lightning and reached out to open the hatch. As long as he entered, his chances of escaping would greatly increase. But just as Lin Yi's hand touched the door, it slid open on its own, and a dozen or so lasers shot out from within. Lin Yi was shocked. He transformed into his primordial spirit state and avoided the sudden attack. What's going on? Chen Dongqing's expression changed drastically. As he asked, he had already jumped up and used his fingers as a sword, shooting more than 10 sword chi into the hatch. Like Lin Yi, he had scanned these submarines with his divine sense, but he didn't find any enemies hiding on them. He felt a little baffled when he was suddenly attacked. The sword chi that Chen Dongqing shot out was like a clay ox entering the sea after entering the hatch. It didn't even make a splash. Lin Yi carefully scanned again with his divine sense and found that the automatic defense weapon in the submarine had been activated. It was probably because he had a problem with the way the hatch was opened, but he didn't have time to care about this now. A bolt of lightning was enough to deal with these defensive weapons. However, with this pause, the countdown had reached 38 seconds. 2 seconds had been wasted in vain. After dealing with the defense system at the hatch, Lin Yi was about to let De Feng enter the submarine to start it first. However, he discovered that 20 to 30 biohumans had woken up from the sealed metal cabin and quickly came to the entrance to ambush. Before they came out of the metal cabin, Lin Yi's divine sense couldn't detect them. It was too late now. 35 seconds. Chapter 5733. Genius in 1 Second. Remember Love Go? Talks.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Let's go out. Lin Yi made a prompt decision and stopped thinking about the submarine. If they entered the submarine but could not leave the base in the end, then they would really be looking for a coffin to sleep in. Although there would be trouble after leaving the base without the submarine, it was better than not being able to escape. Chen Dongqing naturally did not have any objections. He did whatever Lin Yi said. As for Cheng Yi and Big Brother De Feng, Lin Yi directly jumped into the reservoir where the submarine was docked. This was the only place in the base with seawater. After opening the partition, they could enter the bottom of the sea. If it was somewhere else, even if Lin Yi could break through the wall, he would be blocked by the endless seawater from the bottom of the sea for a while. 30 seconds. Lin Yi and the other 3 dived into the water. With the help of the directional explosion of the super fire bomb, they blew up the submarine's gate and swam smoothly into the deep sea. As soon as they left the base, Lin Yi took Cheng Yi and Big Brother De Feng to the surface at full speed. With the protection of his divine sense field, the 2 of them would not have any problems. However, the base below suddenly exploded. There were still 30 seconds. But the explosion happened just like that. Bastard, they even tampered with the countdown to the explosion. Big Brother De Feng cursed in the force field. Fortunately, Lin Yi did not insist on entering the submarine just now. Otherwise, he would have been buried in the base at this time. In that case, it was all thanks to the automatic defense system on the submarine. Without this system, Big Brother De Feng would have tried to start the submarine now. Lin Yi breathed out in relief as well. The Jade space had given him a warning when the biohumans appeared, but it wasn't strong enough to be fatal. He didn't think much of it, and abandoning the submarine was a decision he made based on his judgment. He didn't think that he'd be able to avoid the explosion just like that. The explosion of the entire base was not fatal to Lin Yi, but it was hard to say for Cheng Yi and Brother De Feng. They were lucky to be able to escape the base. The explosion of the base produced a strong shock wave and shock wave. The entire seabed seemed to be shaking slightly. With this force, Lin Yi took Cheng Yi and Chen Dongqing and rushed to the surface of the sea like a rocket. During this process, ordinary people's lungs would explode due to the change in water pressure. However, Big Brother Feng and Cheng Yi were also cultivators, so they naturally did not have to worry about the problems caused by water pressure. This is bad. Lin Yi's divine sense had been paying close attention to the situation of the explosion behind them. The water pressure would not be dangerous, but the volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea was enough to put them in danger. The dormant volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea became active because of the explosion of the base. In an instant, 2 volcanoes spewed out scarlet magma from the bottom of the sea. Even the seawater could not cool down this kind of explosion. Lovego Smaltsetsnekalini was shocked. He gritted his teeth and desperately floated up with the force field behind him. The volcanic belt at the bottom of the sea began to erupt continuously. The energy gathered was extremely terrifying. After mixing with the power of the base's explosion, a large area of blazing white super flames appeared. This type of flame was a weapon that could deal enough damage to Lin Yi's primordial spirit. The glasses had only used it for defense after researching it, and hadn't been able to launch a single successful attack until his death. It was only when the base self-destructed that it became the strongest attack of all. In just an instant, Lin Yi and Chen Dongqing felt the temperature of the seawater they were in rise sharply, almost reaching the level of boiling. Cheng Yi and Brother De Feng did not feel much because they had Lin Yi's protection. It turned out that burning the sky and boiling the sea was not a joke. Chen Dongqing was fine. His physical body was also considered strong. Coupled with the defense of his true qi, he could still move freely without being directly engulfed by the super flames. Lin Yi's situation was quite bad. The super flames did not directly burn his body, but just the aftermath had already caused his primordial spirit to show signs of melting. He also had to divide his divine sense to form a force field barrier to protect Cheng Yi and Brother De Feng. In an instant, the consumption increased rapidly. Even he did not know how long he could last. If he gave up Cheng Yi and Brother De Feng, Lin Yi could easily escape. However, if he did this, Lin Yi would not be himself. Not to mention Cheng Yi, even if it was Brother Dafeng, he would never give up. The only good news was that with the addition of the underwater volcano, the shock wave of the explosion became stronger. The speed at which Lin Yi and the other 3 rose also doubled. In the blink of an eye, the 4 of them were pushed out of the sea by the flames and rushed into the sky. The blue sea and blue sky constantly changed in Lin Yi's eyes. The damn white flames followed closely behind Lin Yi, not letting up at all. The surface of the sea that Lin Yi and the other 3 had rushed out of had completely disappeared, leaving only a large amount of water vapor that continued to evaporate in the white flames. The huge amount of seawater that was thousands of meters deep and had a radius of more than 4 kilometers had been completely burned. From the sky, it looked like a bottomless sinkhole that led straight to hell. Lin Yi's consciousness was slightly blurred. This was something that had never happened since he condensed his primordial spirit. It was probably because the residual energy of the volcano and the superflame was too powerful after fusing, and the damage to him was beyond his expectations. After barely dispelling the dizziness, Lin Yi activated the 3 appearances of the Cloud Dragon and moved continuously with Cheng Yi and Dafeng. At the same time, he gave Chen Dongqing, who was in the air, a kick and sent him flying. If he could, Lin Yi really wanted to sing, "I'll send you off 1,000 miles away." Unfortunately, his kick could only barely send Chen Dongqing 2 or 3 kilometers away from the range of the deep sinkhole on the sea. The place where he landed was at least seawater, although it was boiling. As for Lin Yi, he used the recoil force of this kick and the displacement of the 3 appearances of the Cloud Dragon to forcibly pull the 2 burdens in the opposite direction, avoiding the blazing white superflame that soared into the sky below. "Big Brother Lin, are you okay?" Cheng Yi noticed that Lin Yi's expression was extremely ugly and could not help but ask with concern. Although they avoided the superflame head-on, a trace of the aftermath on the side still caused Lin Yi's divine sense field barrier to fluctuate violently. If he had not desperately protected it, Cheng Yi and Brother Dafeng would have fallen directly into the sinkhole. Chapter 5734. At this moment, Big Brother Dafeng, who was originally loyal to Lin Yi, swore that he would never betray Lin Yi in this life. If Lin Yi needed it, he would definitely return his life to Lin Yi. Lin Yi's face was pale and faintly translucent. This was a sign that his divine sense had been consumed too much, and his spirit was severely injured. "I'm fine, you don't have to worry. But after reaching the sea, you have to protect yourselves. I may not be able to take care of you." Lin Yi smiled indifferently. He did not seem to care about the current predicament. "Boss Lin Yi, don't worry about me. Throw me down and save your strength." Big Brother Dafeng shouted eagerly. At this time, even if Lin Yi threw him into the heaven flame, he would not have any complaints. Lin Yi smiled slightly and shook his head gently. He did not speak. He was now falling in a parabola with the 2 of them, which happened to be in the opposite direction of Chen Dongqing. When they fell into the sea, they would be surrounded by boiling seawater. However, Lin Yi knew very well that the explosion of the heaven flame would not last forever. When the heaven flame disappeared, the surrounding seawater would fill up the huge pit. In the sea, it would be a new tsunami. Lin Yi wanted to continue protecting the 2 of them, but his primordial spirit wasn't enough to maintain this force field barrier. Fortunately, Dafeng and Cheng Yi weren't weak. They wouldn't be crushed by this huge wave in a short period of time. "Remember, if we get separated in the sea, don't panic. When the huge wave disappears, stay on the surface of the sea and don't sink. I will find you," Lin Yi calmly exhorted. He wanted to fix the 2 of them by his side, but the weakness in his spirit made him unable to care too much. A spiritual knowledge fruit was swallowed by Lin Yi, and he began to refine it with all his strength. Using the spiritual knowledge fruit to replenish the consumption of spiritual knowledge was definitely a waste of God's gift, but Lin Yi had no other way now. The remaining 2 spiritual knowledge tumors that had not been dealt with showed signs of instability at this time. If Lin Yi could not control these 2 spiritual knowledge tumors, this secular world sea might become his burial ground. If Lan Xiaoru, who self-destructed, was reborn and knew that Lin Yi would die in such a way, she would probably look up to the sky and laugh 3 times. Seeing that they were about to fall into the boiling sea, Lin Yi retracted the spiritual knowledge force field and used his true qi to add a layer of defense to the two of them. He shouted, "Don't stay here. Try to swim to the periphery. Stay awake. If you are involved in the whirlpool, remember to swim against the current." Before he finished speaking, the three of them fell into the water one after another. Compared to the flames, the boiling seawater of more than 100 degrees Celsius was no threat at all. The three of them could easily resist it. Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng did not dare to neglect. After falling into the water, they desperately swam out. After all, they were two experts and their speed was quite fast. Lin Yi wanted to transform into his spirit state and float in the air. If Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng were in any danger, he could rescue them in time. However, a burst of dizziness made Lin Yi give up this idea. After looking in the right direction, he used his true qi to escape from this dangerous area. Most of his mind was used to refine the spiritual knowledge fruit and suppress the two spiritual knowledge tumors. After a few breaths, the three of them were 2 to 3 kilometers away from the huge pit. At this time, the explosion of the flames finally weakened. Although the heat at the bottom of the sea was still terrifying, it could not maintain the vacuum area that was thousands of meters deep. The surrounding seawater began to pour down violently, and the hot water vapor directly gathered into thick clouds in the sky. In a short period of time, the embryonic form of a storm was formed. Lin Yi and the others tried their best to escape, but under the huge slope of the seawater, they still could not help but flow back with the current. The pulling force was getting stronger and stronger. Even Lin Yi's true qi could no longer resist it. If he wanted to get rid of it, Lin Yi could only transform into his spirit state and float in the air. Unfortunately, he did not dare to make the slightest change now. If he was careless and caused the spiritual knowledge tumor to riot, it would really be over. After the seawater poured down and filled half of the space, the violent collision formed a huge whirlpool. The monstrous waves were just the ripples at the edge. The four people in the center began to spin and fall down involuntarily. Cheng Yi and Defeng Bro, on the other hand, remembered Lin Yi's warning. They wanted to go against the current, but in front of the power of nature, their strength was insignificant. Their desperate struggle only delayed them for a few breaths of time. Chen Dongqing, who had flown in the opposite direction just now, was countless times stronger than the two of them. However, this guy was not good at swimming. In this whirlpool, his performance was not as good as Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng. When he passed by Cheng Yi and Big Brother Defeng for the second time, he did not even have the strength to struggle. Lin Yi wanted to do something, but he was like a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. He could not even protect himself. The only way was to go with the flow. Fortunately, the super flame had slowly subsided. If it was just the whirlpool, tsunami, and storm, it would not take their lives for a while. After this period, there would be a chance of survival. Now that he thought about it, it was really lucky that he did not get entangled in the submarine just now. Not to mention the deceptive setting of the 30-second false report. Even if he successfully left the base in the submarine, under this kind of explosion, it was likely that he would be directly vaporized by the super flame at the bottom of the sea. He might not even be able to survive in this situation. "You guys, take care of yourselves," Lin Yi said in his heart with a wry smile. His dizziness was getting worse, but he knew that once he really fainted, the divine sense cancer would immediately explode. Therefore, even if he died, he could not faint. At least before suppressing these two divine sense cancer, he absolutely could not faint. This huge whirlpool lasted for an unknown amount of time. Lin Yi's mind was completely immersed in suppressing the divine sense cancer, so he did not care too much. Anyway, he was an essence spirit, so he would not drown in the sea. Between floating and sinking, the seabed and the sea surface went back and forth several times. After the storm and tsunami, Lin Yi finally succeeded in suppressing the two divine sense cancer and opened his eyes with a tired look. Chapter 5735. It was simply impossible to expect that the four of them would not be separated in such a violent environment, so Lin Yi was not disappointed and extended his spiritual awareness to search for traces of them. However, the next moment, Lin Yi knew that the problem was serious. His spiritual awareness could only extend for less than a kilometer. Obviously, the previous flame had caused his consumption to reach a terrifying level. Although a spiritual awareness fruit had been swallowed, most of it was used to suppress the tumor of spiritual awareness. The remaining small half was used to make up for part of the consumption, and there was still a part that had not been refined. So at this time, even if Lin Yi continued to swallow the spiritual awareness fruit, there would not be any better effect. Damn it! With this level of spiritual awareness search, it is impossible to find the three of them in the vast sea. I only hope that Chen Dongqing can be okay. The range of his spiritual awareness should be large enough. As long as he is not dead, it is possible to find the three of us. Lin Yi shook his head with a wry smile. He had not encountered such an embarrassing situation for a long time. Since there was no way to effectively search with spiritual awareness, Lin Yi could only transform into his essence soul state and float on the sea surface. It was faster to search with his eyes. Fortunately, Lin Yi had just flown a short distance when he found a black spot floating on the sea surface 3 or 4 kilometers away. After flying closer, he confirmed that it was Chen Yi. Lin Yi was surprised and happy. He was happy that he had finally found Cheng Yi. He was surprised that Cheng Yi was still in a coma and her breathing was extremely weak. Lin Yi's essence soul was weak, but there was no problem with his true qi. With the jade pendant space as his backing, true qi was never something he needed to worry about. After quickly holding Cheng Yi's palm, Lin Yi transferred his omnipotent true qi to check Cheng Yi's condition while treating her injuries. Fortunately, there is no fatal injury, just a collapse. Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief, but he was also a little shocked. If he hadn't discovered it early, the collapsed Cheng Yi might have drowned in the sea just like that. After a short while, Cheng Yi spat out a few mouthfuls of seawater and slowly woke up. Seeing Lin Yi in front of her, she was overjoyed and said, "Big brother Lin, it's great that you're fine." As he spoke, he reached out and wrapped his arms around Lin Yi's neck, hanging onto Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi smiled and patted Cheng Yi's back. "We're fine. By the way, where are Dafeng and Chen Dongqing?" Cheng Yi remembered that she still had 2 companions and immediately let go of Lin. She looked around and asked. After this thrilling experience of going through thick and thin together, Cheng Yi felt a sense of familiarity towards these 2 strange companions, so she was naturally concerned about their safety. Lin Yi shook his head and said, "I haven't found them yet, but they should be fine." Lin Yi wasn't talking nonsense. The weakest among the 3 was Cheng Yi. Since even Cheng Yi could be safe and sound, how could the 2 guys fall like this? The problem was, how could Lin Yi find the 2 of them in the vast sea? Cheng Yi was here, so Lin Yi certainly couldn't leave her alone and fly around looking for them. Moreover, with Cheng Yi's strength, he didn't know how long she could persist in the sea. In the absence of a ship, Lin Yi didn't know how to bring her back to the shore. Before this, even if Lin Yi transformed into the state of spirit, it was not a big deal to fly with a person, but now it was definitely not possible. If he flew, the spiritual awareness tumor that he had just suppressed would cause trouble again. Lin Yi also thought about flying back to the shore to find a ship to save Cheng Yi, but he didn't know where he was now. The range of spiritual awareness was not as far as the range of the naked eye. If he flew in the wrong direction, instead of flying to the nearest shore, he would start a journey around the earth. When he came back, it would really be too late. Unfortunately, Lin Yi's mobile phone was not kept in the jade pendant space. He didn't know where it had sunk to in the whirlpool and tsunami. Otherwise, he could try to make a phone call or something. "Big brother Lin, do you want to find the 2 of them?" "It doesn't matter. I will wait here. You find the 2 of them first." Cheng Yi knew that Lin Yi was worried about her, and he wanted to find the 2 people, so she smiled and asked Lin Yi to find them first. Lin Yi thought about it and could only do so. After Cheng Yi woke up, there was no problem floating in the sea for a period of time. If the 2 guys also fainted because of exhaustion, they might really drown in the sea. Whether it was Brother Dafeng in the Foundation establishment stage or Chen Dongqing in the mysterious ascension stage, drowning in the ordinary sea was a shameful thing. They would not feel at ease even if they died. Just as he was about to nod and agree, Lin Yi suddenly had a flash of inspiration. The mobile phone was not kept in the jade pendant space, but he kept one thing in the jade pendant space. Languz's communication bead. When he was in the small Jianghu of primitive times, Languza gave this communication bead to Lin Yi so that it was convenient to contact him. Later, Languza used it once when he came to the Green Cloud sect of the North Island to pick up Lin Yi to flood Dragon Island. Then Lin Yi threw it in the jade pendant space and never took it out. After all, Languza followed Lin Yi like a tail every day. Why would he use the communication bead? What's more, after coming to the secular world, Languza preferred to play with his mobile phone. He probably forgot that there was such a bead with Lin Yi. After taking out the communication bead, Lin Yi took a deep breath and immersed the bead in the sea. To be honest, Lin Yi was also a little nervous. This might be the last chance to save Qing Yi, Brother Defeng, and the others. Lin Yi could fly back, but he would never leave Qing Yi and the others alone. After all, the seawater of the boundless sea was somewhat different from the seawater of the secular world. This was not a place with abundant spiritual energy like the small Jianghu of primitive times. Lin Yi was not sure if this communication bead could still work. But in the next second, Lin Yi was relieved because the communication bead shone faintly in the seawater. Then, Languza's shadow appeared in front of Lin Yi. "Boss, where have you been? We were so worried." As soon as Languza appeared, he asked anxiously. "Oh, it's a long story. I went for a ride on the sea for a long time," Lin Yi said with a smile. The center really let Lin Yi go for a long time on the sea before. This was not nonsense. "Boss, have you rescued sister-in-law Yi? Do you want me to help?" "Don't worry, Languza, can definitely kill them all," Languza said aggressively as he stroked his arm. Chapter 5736. "No problem. Boss, wait for me. I will be there soon." After that, Languza cut off the communication. Lin Yi smiled and said to Qing Yi, "Don't worry. With Languza here, we will all be fine." Qing Yi asked curiously, "Brother Lin, is Languza stronger than you?" In her opinion, Lin Yi was the most powerful person in the world. Languza was obviously Lin Yi's little brother. How could Languza easily do what Lin Yi couldn't? Even if Lin Yi was injured, Qing Yi didn't think that Lin Yi was inferior to Languza. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's not about who is more powerful than who. It's just that if Languza is in the sea, there are very few things that he can't do. You will know when he comes over later. Well, you wait here for a while. I will fly up and look for Defeng and Qindongqing. Maybe I can see them." Of course, Qing Yi had no objection. Lin Yi once again transformed into his spirit form and flew hundreds of meters into the sky, overlooking the surrounding sea. Unfortunately, he couldn't find Defeng and Qindongqing. However, on the distant sea level, there was a white line approaching quickly. "No way? Is that Languza?" Lin Yi said with some surprise. "How long has it been? Languza can rush over?" After thinking about it, Lin Yi felt that it was normal. After all, Languza was already a real sea dragon, a genetically mutated sea dragon. His strength had reached the late stage of mysterious ascension. After changing back to his original body, Languza's speed in the sea could definitely reach several times the speed of sound. It was understandable that he could rush over so quickly. In the blink of an eye, that white line was already closing in. As expected, it was Languza's true form. He was a dragon that was more than 10 meters long. Just the waves that he had stirred up were more than 20 meters tall. "Boss, I'm coming." Before he arrived, Languza's loud voice had already sounded. Qing Yi looked at the approaching sea dragon with her mouth agape. She suddenly felt that she might be having an absurd dream. Otherwise, how could she see such a legendary sea dragon? Although he was a heaven stage cultivator, Qing Yi had never heard of a real sea dragon in the world. Lin Yi flew to the sea and said with a smile, "You came just in time. I don't know where those two guys are. Can you find them?" While talking, Lin Yi pulled Qing Yi onto Languza's broad back. In the endless sea, Languza was still a sea dragon. Lin Yi felt good riding on his back. Now that he had evolved into a sea dragon, it was even more comfortable. "Boss, don't worry. In this small pond, it's too easy to find two people," Languza said proudly. Compared to the dangerous endless sea, the ocean of the secular world was indeed only worthy of Languza's evaluation of a small pond. Lin Yi listened to him and was completely relieved. He immediately fell on Languza's back and had a good rest. A trace of worry flashed in Qing Yi's eyes. She began to feel that Lin Yi's current state was really not very good. Thinking of Lin Yi's instructions before falling into the sea, Qing Yi estimated that Lin Yi was now seriously injured. Unfortunately, Qing Yi couldn't do anything for Lin. If Sun Jingyi was here, perhaps she could use her cultivation method to help Lin Yi. Of course, what Qing Yi didn't know was that Lin Yi's spirit was injured now. Even Sun Jingyi's cultivation method couldn't help him. After waiting for Lin Yi and Qing Yi to sit down, Languza put his big head into the sea and opened his mouth to roar. The sound directly set off a huge wave, but fortunately, it immediately subsided. 10 seconds later, Languza raised his head and said with a smile, "Boss, the sea beasts here are really weak. They don't even deserve to be called sea beasts. Moreover, their intelligence is very low. Fortunately, they can help me find 2 people. This is a simple matter. I already have a position for them." Sea dragons were indeed sea dragons. As long as they were in the sea, they were the absolute king of the race. Lin Yi smiled and nodded, "Then hurry up and get them back. It's easy to get into trouble if it takes too long." "Okay, boss and sister-in-law, sit tight. I'm coming out." Languza responded with a loud laugh. He arched his body and shot out like a sharp arrow. Qing Yi could clearly hear a sonic boom. This fellow had actually broken through the sonic barrier and activated it. In a few breaths, Languza arrived at Big Brother Defeng's location. Big Brother Defeng had seen Languza's sea dragon appearance, but he had never seen the evolved sea dragon, so he was shocked at first. Languza was very satisfied with this. He thought that he could continue to play like this next time. Lin Yi saw that Big Brother Defeng was awake and greeted him with a smile. This guy was really tenacious. Other than being a little embarrassed, his spirit was very good. When Languza came over, Big Brother Defeng was still swimming quickly. Obviously, he was looking for Lin Yi and the others. As for Chen Dongqing, Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry after seeing him. Chen Dongqing was the most powerful among the 3, but this disappointing one looked the most miserable. Not only was he unconscious, but his stomach was also bulging. It seemed that he drank a lot of seawater. Fortunately, Chen Dongqing was strong. He protected his heart with qi, so he didn't become a joke of a profound ascending stage master drowning in the secular world. Big Brother Defeng quickly picked up Chen Dongqing and made him spit out the seawater in his stomach. Lin Yi used qi to treat him a little, and Chen Dongqing woke up. "Languza, let's go back." Finally, all 3 of them were found, and Qing Yi was also rescued from the center. Lin Yi smiled and patted Languza's body. His heart was relieved, but suddenly he felt a wave of dizziness. His body leaned back and he actually fainted. Lin Yi didn't know how long he lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in the space of the jade pendant, and there was someone beside him who had been watching him. "Jiao Lao? You appeared again." Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. He sat up with a smile and waved to Jiao Yazi. Jiao Yazi laughed and scolded, "What do you mean again? I've always been here. It's just that if you leave the secular world, I will disappear. When you return to the secular world, I can appear again." Chapter 5737. Is it because I don't want to talk to you? Isn't it because you haven't entered the space of the jade pendant and haven't thought of me at all? Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi with a smile that wasn't a smile. It sounded very reasonable. Lin Yi was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be the case. After returning from the ancient small world, he really didn't think of Jiao Yazi because he couldn't contact Jiao Yazi. Lin Yi was used to it. Jiao Yazi actually didn't care. Before Lin Yi opened the space of the jade pendant, he was used to being alone. He was just joking with Lin Yi. "Speaking of which, the speed of your growth has far exceeded my expectations. In the past, I could still give you some help and advice, but now, there is really nothing I can give you. So when you return to the secular world, there is no need for me to say anything." Jiao Yazi said with a smile. Then, without waiting for Lin Yi to speak, he pointed at Lin Yi's forehead with a straight face and said, "But this time, you really disappoint me." Lin Yi was startled and said, Jiao Lao, what do you mean? What do I mean? You still have the nerve to ask me what I mean. Don't tell me you haven't realized your own state? Jiao Yazi reprimanded mercilessly. In the past, when Lin Yi was still a weak rookie, Jiao Yazi was not so strict. Lin Yi slightly frowned. Jiao Yazi's expression was obviously not to scare him, so Lin immediately used his divine sense to explore the space of the jade pendant. He wanted to find out what was going on. However, Lin Yi's divine sense couldn't explore the space of the jade pendant. It could only wander in this side of the world. To put it bluntly, he had completely lost contact with the outside world. Jiao Lao, how did this happen? How long have I been unconscious? Lin Yi knew that things were getting serious, but he still kept his cool. In response to Lin Yi's question, Jiao Yazi only snorted and said, "Your strength is beyond this realm. I can't understand it, so how would I know what happened to you? But what I can tell you is that you've been unconscious for 10 whole days." Lin Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. He thought that he had been unconscious for 1 or 2 hours at most. He did not expect that he had been unconscious for 10 days. One had to know that Lin Yi himself was a primordial spirit. Now that his primordial spirit was in the space of the jade pendant, didn't that mean that the primordial spirit in the mortal world had completely disappeared? Jiao Lao, in front of you, no matter how strong I am still a junior. Can we talk nicely? Lin Yi said with a bitter smile. If he wanted to figure out the current situation, only Jiao Yazi could help him. Jiao Yazi suddenly smiled and shouted, "Do you think I'm angry with you? How is that possible? I'm just expressing my disappointment to you. Kid, you don't know how to cherish yourself, do you? This time, you almost had your soul scattered, do you know that? If you hadn't eaten a divine knowledge fruit before and had not refined a part of it, you would have been dead by now. Your primordial spirit has left your body and you still dare to play like this. Do you really think that you are invincible in the world?" Lin Yi was a little confused. After listening to Jiao Yazi's words, he felt a little scared. It turned out that he was really close to dying. Thanks to the divine knowledge fruit that he had eaten before, he was able to preserve his last chance of survival. It was also too smooth before. Lin Yi moved with his primordial spirit. Except for a short period of time when he just came back, it was basically successful. Therefore, he himself had forgotten that the primordial spirit was actually very weak. After being attacked, it needed to bear 10 times or even 100 times more damage than the physical body. It was quite not easy for him to still be alive now. "Jiao Lao, I know I was wrong. This time I was careless. I don't know what is my situation now. How can I leave the space of the jade pendant?" Lin Yi obediently admitted his mistake. Anyway, Jiao Yazi was a teacher and a friend. In front of him, Lin Yi did not have the self-awareness of a strong person. Instead, he was more like a junior. Jiao Yazi snorted twice. It was probably because he had vented most of the depression in his heart. This was also because he was worried about Lin Yi. If it was someone else, Jiao Yazi would not care about their life and death. You want to escape after listening to my nagging? Let me tell you, it's not that easy. Although Jiao Yazi's anger had subsided a lot, he still muttered a few words and then said solemnly, "Kid, you are really lucky. Originally, your primordial spirit would have completely collapsed after you lost consciousness, but because there was a remnant of the divine knowledge fruit, your primordial spirit's origin was protected. The space of the jade pendant also tried its best to pull you in, so you did not die immediately." "My primordial spirit has dissipated?" Lin Yi's heart shook. This was the news he was most concerned about and most unwilling to hear. Now, the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit in the space of the jade pendant was not even 6 to 7% of its peak. Even if he left the space of the jade pendant, the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit would be greatly reduced. But Jiao Yazi finally gave him a piece of good news. "No, your primordial spirit is still in the outside world. I have to say, kid, your luck is really heaven-defying. Other than the divine knowledge fruit, you can also use the divine knowledge grass root to refine your primordial spirit. Plus, you have always had perfect breakthroughs. Your primordial spirit is already far stronger than the same level cultivator. The degree of your primordial spirit's solidification is not inferior to the body of an ordinary cultivator. When you lost consciousness, at least you left your primordial spirit in the outside world. Lin Yi immediately let out a sigh of relief. As long as his primordial spirit was still there, his strength wouldn't decline too much. More importantly, with his primordial spirit outside, he was only unconscious and not disappeared. At least the people in the outside world would have some psychological comfort. Otherwise, if Lin Yi suddenly disappeared, Sun Jingyi, Su Shihan and the others would probably go crazy. Xiao Lao, what should I do now? Can you let me communicate with the primordial spirit in the outside world? Lin Yi tried again but still couldn't connect to the outside world. He could only ask Jiao Yazi for help. Jiao Yazi shrugged and said helplessly, I don't have a way, you have to deal with this yourself. Hurry up and cultivate well. Maybe one day you can find a way to communicate with the primordial spirit in the outside world. Don't be lazy. Lin Yi was speechless. It seemed like Jiao Yazi really couldn't be counted on. If he wanted to go out, the only way was to recover the strength of his primordial spirit. Chapter 5738. There was no other way. He could only cultivate, but he didn't know how long it would take before he could communicate with the spirit in the outside world. Lin Yi sighed in his heart. He didn't want to waste any more time. He sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate his divine sense. 10 days ago, Lin Yi suddenly fainted. Although it made Qing Yi panic, Languze, Chen Dongqing, and Big Brother Feng were already used to Lin Yi's invincibility. They just thought that Lin Yi consumed a lot of energy and would wake up after a short rest, so they didn't care at all. They even comforted Qing Yi. Languze's speed was extremely fast. In just a few minutes, he had already returned to the coast. He found a hidden place and transformed back into his human form. After putting on his clothes, Big Brother Feng had already gotten a business car and drove them to Lan Mi. Qing Yi's concert tour was interrupted. Fortunately, it wasn't too long, so they could still continue with the original schedule. However, Lan Mi and Madok were too late. They could only make an announcement to reopen it later. They would first complete Barini's and Lenton's concerts according to the schedule, then arrange for these 2 stops. After returning to Lan Mi, Lin Yi still didn't seem to be awake. After Languze checked, he didn't find any problems with Lin, so he let Qing Yi and Su Shihan go do their things first. When Lin Yi woke up, he would inform them. The next day, Kang Xiaobo chartered a plane to fly back to China with everyone. He sent Lin Yi back to the villa in Songshan to recuperate and then tried to find a way to inform Lin Dongfang and Aunt Qing. After all, Lin Yi hadn't woken up for more than a day. They were already a little uncertain. Languze and Chen Dongqing didn't expect that on the day before they returned, Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer quietly landed in a remote corner on the outskirts of Songshan. It was a large chemical plant. Since its establishment, no one knew what was produced inside, and there were no signs of human habitation within 100 miles. After Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer turned on the invisibility device, he was not afraid of being seen. In the middle of the chemical plant, the roof of an ordinary factory silently slid to 2 sides, revealing a huge gap. There were circles of lights inside as a guide, going deep into the underground of the factory. Xue Jianfeng's flying saucer hovered above the gap before slowly descending. This was an emergency escape route automatically arranged by the system. In fact, Xue Jianfeng himself had no idea where he was flying to. Hello, I'm Little Pure from Central Songshan Base. Welcome to the 2 of you. After the flying saucer came to a stop, the cabin door opened, and Xue Jianfeng and Xiaolong saw the people waiting for them outside. Xiaolong paused after hearing Xiaochun's introduction. Songshan Base? Could it be in Songshan? That's right, this is the outskirts of Songshan City. In terms of organization, this is the 2nd base of the core in the secular world. Xiaochun nodded with a smile before turning sideways. Please follow me, the person in charge of our base is already waiting for you in the meeting room. Xue Jianfeng quickly caught up with a smile. Xiaochun, may I know who the person in charge of the 2nd base is? I used to follow Dr. Glasses and Miss Lan, but I'm not familiar with the person in charge of your base. Before we meet, we should get to know each other. Xiaolong didn't say anything as Xue Jianfeng pushed him to the back. After all, Xue Jianfeng's strength was there for all to see, and it was thanks to him that he was able to escape from the sacred center. Strictly speaking, Zhaolong's connection with the core was mostly due to Kang Mingming. Since he wasn't as good as Xue Jianfeng in every aspect, he naturally wouldn't want to compete with him. Xiao Chun giggled. You'll see the person in charge soon. You'll know when you see him. There's no point in talking about it now. Come. As she spoke, Xiao Chun brought the two of them onto a maglev scooter. Once they were stable, the scooter started, and in a minute or so, they arrived at the meeting room of the second base. We're here. You two go in. Xiao Chun turned around and waved at Xue Jianfeng and Zhaolong. She left immediately after they got off. Xue Jianfeng knocked on the door. The doctor was dead, but the poison in his body was still there. Before he could detoxify the poison, Xue Jianfeng had to show enough respect to the person in charge of the base. Otherwise, with his temper, he would have pushed the door open a long time ago. Come in. A young man's voice came from the meeting room. Xue Jianfeng pushed the door open with a smile. Hello, I'm Xue Jianfeng from the Sacred Center, the first base. May I know your name? Xue Jianfeng didn't have to bow and scrape, but he was still very polite. The young man sat on the sofa with no intention of standing up. He pointed at the chair beside him. Have a seat. I'm the person in charge here, Zheng Wen. You can call me Master Wen. I've heard about what happened in the first base. It wasn't easy for you two to escape, so follow me from now on. Ah, it's Master Wen. It's an honor to meet you. I, Xue Jianfeng, will be in your care from now on. Xue Jianfeng laughed as he expressed his willingness to follow Zheng Wen. He sat down without any hesitation. He could tell that Zheng Wen was just a guy a little stronger than a normal person. His strength wasn't worth mentioning at all. He subconsciously looked down on Zheng Wen. Zhaolong didn't sit. He said with a face full of surprise. Master Wen, I know you. You're one of the 4 young masters of Songshan. My name is Zhaolong. You don't know this, but you've always been my idol. I didn't think that I'd be able to see you today. It's such an honor. I'm so excited to be able to see you often in the future and work for you. Zheng Wen's face lit up. He didn't think that he'd be able to meet a fan of his today. It's all in the past. Don't mention it. Zheng Wen waved his hand with a smile. His expression, however, seemed to be saying, keep talking. On his forehead. Master Wen, you're wrong. As one of the 4 young masters of Songshan, you've become a legend. It's a shame that I haven't heard from you these past few years. Otherwise, I'd have come to you a long time ago. Zhaolong said seriously. He didn't feel like he was lying. Chapter 5739. Zheng Wen obviously liked this. He smiled and waved at Zhaolong. Come, Kang, sit down and talk. I didn't think that you, the young master of Dr. Kang's house, would know me so well. Not bad, not bad. I just happen to be lacking a capable helper here. You can follow me from now on. Zhaolong was overjoyed. He didn't have much of a foundation in the center, and his only support was Kang Mingming, who went to Sky Class Island. Now that he had a connection with Zheng Wen, his status would change immediately. Thank you for your support, Master Wen. I, Kang, will do my best for you in the future. Zhaolong expressed his loyalty as he went over to refill Zheng Wen's teacup. He had already entered the role of an assistant. If Zhaolong knew that Zheng Wen's assistant had always been a scapegoat for him, who knew if he would still be so happy? Xue Jianfeng saw that Zhaolong got Zheng Wen's attention with just a few words, and he felt uneasy. He sat up straight and smiled. Master Wen, I'm the number 1 under the glasses doctor. Zheng Wen waved his hand and interrupted him. I understand. I'll let you know if there's anything. Right now, our base is in the process of reviving Miss Lan's clone. You don't need to do anything for now. We'll talk about it after it's done. You can go rest now. Xue Jianfeng was depressed. He didn't even want to hear what he had to say. He didn't think that after the glasses doctor's death, he, Xue Jianfeng, would be ignored like this. He couldn't even be compared to that weak chicken Zhaolong. No matter what, he, Xue Jianfeng, was still a profound ascension early-stage super expert. The fusion of the new medicine was very smooth. Even if he hadn't tried it before, he knew that he would recover quickly if he got injured in a fight. Master Wen told you to go rest first, so go rest first. I'll let you know if there's anything. Zhaolong turned to Xue Jianfeng. He was still calling him Master Shui before, but now he didn't even bother to call him by his name. Shui Jianfeng humphed and got up to leave bitterly. He wouldn't have put up with this if it weren't for the poison in his body. He didn't know if his gene cells, which could quickly recover from injuries, would be able to remove the toxin as well. It was a shame that he couldn't confirm this yet. Shui Jianfeng didn't want to offend Zhengwen right now, but the glasses professor was still the best. If only the glasses professor could be reborn. On one side, Zhengwen was busy reviving Lan Xiaoru. On the other side, Lin Yi still hadn't woken up. It was already the 10th day. Kong Xiaobo and the others put down their work and gathered in the villa, waiting for Lin Yi to wake up. Unfortunately, in the current situation, it seemed that the possibility of another unconscious person in the villa was higher. No one knew that Lin Yi's consciousness had actually just woken up. However, he was in the space of the jade pendant and couldn't communicate with the outside world, so his Yuan Shen body was still in a state of deep sleep. Lin Yi practiced in the space of the jade pendant for a couple of hours, but there was no progress at all. The qi in the space of the jade pendant had no effect on Lin Yi's Yuan Shen and consciousness. But the spirit fruit and the spirit grass root were things that Lin Yi couldn't use. Even if they were right in front of him, he could only look at them. It was quite frustrating. He couldn't solidify his Yuan Shen body in the space of the jade pendant, so he couldn't use them. Jiao Lao, do you have any spiritual type arts that I can learn? Lin Yi turned to Jiao Yazi and asked, depressed. For a long time, Lin Yi had not systematically cultivated his spiritual awareness. When he was on the Heaven Stage Island, he mostly used his physical body to drive his spiritual awareness. After coming to the ancient small rivers and lakes, the improvement of his Yuan Shen mostly relied on the tempering of the spirit grass root and the swallowing of the heaven-swallowing giant crocodile's Yuan Shen. There were not many people who really relied on their own cultivation. Of course, this was also related to the lack of a complete and high-level Yuan Shen and spiritual awareness cultivation method for Lin. He also knew that it was unlikely that Jiao Yazi would have something in this area, so he just asked casually. Jiao Yazi smiled and said, I have seen beggars, but I have never seen someone holding a golden bowl to beg for food. Are you stupid? Or stupid? Or stupid? Lin Yi's forehead was full of black lines. Was there any difference? It seemed like Elder Jiao's resentment hadn't dissipated because he hadn't talked to him for too long. After Jiao Yazi laughed at Lin Yi, he said seriously, You really don't know that you are in a treasure mountain. Don't you know that the heavens stealing fortune battle art you are cultivating is a real top-level cultivation method? No, saying that it is a top-level cultivation method is underestimating the heavens stealing fortune battle art. With this cultivation method, why do you still need to find a spiritual awareness cultivation method? The heavens stealing fortune battle art can cultivate the Yuan Shen and spiritual awareness? Lin Yi asked in surprise. He didn't think about this before, but now that Jiao Yazi mentioned it, he really felt that it was possible. For a long time, Lin Yi's Yuan Shen was stronger than cultivators of the same level. He originally thought that it was because of him, but now that he thought about it, he realized that it was probably because of the heavens stealing fortune battle art. It was a shame that this art was incomplete, and even though he'd merged it with the art of dragon mastery to make up for the missing parts, he hadn't been able to properly analyze the rest of the art. Don't think that I don't know about your matters when I am in a deep sleep. Don't forget that we are connected. Once you return to the secular world, I will know everything you have experienced. Jiao Yazi narrowed his eyes and said faintly, Although your growth is amazing, ask yourself, have you properly cultivated this heaven-defying cultivation method? I remember reminding you of the importance of this cultivation method before you entered the heavenly island. Lin Yi suddenly blushed with shame. Although Jiao Yazi didn't say it clearly, Lin Yi was very clear about what he was referring to. After arriving at the heavenly island, Lin Yi's improvement was indeed great, but not much of it was brought about by the heavens stealing fortune battle art. More of it was the various opportunities that Lin Yi found, in addition to countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as his own tenacity that allowed him to reach this step. The heavens stealing fortune battle art naturally played a role in this, but the proportion was really very small. If he casually changed a cultivation method, Lin Yi could still have the current achievements. At most he would be a little lacking in combat power, In this way, Lin Yi really underestimated the heavens' stealing fortune battle art. If he paid more attention to it, perhaps his strength could be a little stronger. Chapter 5740. If Jiao Yazi could always stay by Lin Yi's side, Lin Yi could obviously avoid a lot of detours. Although the ghost could also replace Jiao Yazi's role, it was still a spirit beast after all. It might not be able to know more about the human race than Jiao Yazi. It's good that you understand, go figure it out yourself. Jiao Yazi showed a gratified smile. His face had an expression that said that the child was worth teaching. In fact, he had just figured out these principles himself, otherwise, he would have told Lin Yi just now, and he wouldn't have to remind Lin Yi now. Jiao Yazi was also a bystander. The truth was very simple. It was not that Lin Yi couldn't think it through. The key was that he was in the game and ignored too many details. Lin Yi sat cross-legged again and began to carefully study and deduce the Heaven's Fortune battle art. Originally, this Heaven's Fortune battle art could only be cultivated to the nascent soul stage. The Will of Heaven was known as the first nascent soul stage cultivator, and he relied on this Heaven's Fortune battle art to achieve that. Unfortunately, the incomplete cultivation method could not help him advance further. And the new cultivation method that was integrated with the art of dragon mastery did not have this defect. It was just that at the beginning, there was no detailed cultivation method. Only when Lin Yi reached this stage, would this stage of cultivation method deduction be activated. After Lin Yi advanced to the profound ascension stage, he had not properly deduced the Heaven's Fortune battle art, and had been using the previous cultivation method. This was also what Jiao Yazi was most dissatisfied with. To put it more seriously, Lin Yi was not making progress. But in fact, Lin Yi still cared about his own strength, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to find opportunities everywhere and be able to advance to the profound ascension stage so quickly. Lin Yi, who was in the Jade Pendant space, began the process of cultivation and deduction. The primordial spirit in the villa still had no reaction, but on Heaven Stage Island, Lin Yi's main body showed some changes. Originally, Lin Yi had been sitting cross-legged and cultivating, but now he was lying down unknowingly, as if he had fallen asleep. His aura was also slowly converging. This change scared Tian-chan and Sydney. How could this be? Wasn't everything fine before? Did something go wrong in the secular world? Xue Li paced around anxiously, but she had no idea what she should do. Tian-chan was calmer. After comforting Sydney, she said decisively, "Sydney, get someone to find Brother the Will of Heaven and Okuda Island Master. They are more familiar with soul projection, so they should know what happened." Sydney didn't know what to do, but after hearing Tian-chan's words, she felt that it was very reasonable. She immediately agreed and rushed out. After Sydney left, Tian-chan showed a worried look. She looked at Lin Yi and whispered, "Bad thing, you only know how to make people worry. You must be fine. Otherwise, I will kick you. Come back quickly." After a while, the Will of Heaven and Okuda Island came to Tiandan Pavilion and checked on Lin Yi's condition. Then, they looked at each other and shook their heads silently. "Brother, what happened to Lin Yi?" Tian-chan couldn't maintain her calm anymore and asked anxiously. The Will of Heaven thought for a while and said, "Sister Tian-chan, you don't have to worry. Lin Yi should be fine. Maybe it's because his soul projection has been going on for too long. It's far beyond the normal limit, so his body feels tired. He should lie down and rest for a while." Even though she was worried about Lin Yi, Tian-chan couldn't help but laugh. How could there be such a big brother? He actually said that Lin Yi's body was tired and wanted to lie down for a while. This was ridiculous. It was normal for a strong cultivator to sit in seclusion for more than 10 years. How could Lin Yi lie down for such a reason? However, from what the Will of Heaven said, Lin Yi's body should be fine. So, Tian-chan and Sydney were slightly relieved. Okuda Island also said, "The Lin brothers are very healthy, and their chi and blood are extremely strong. There doesn't seem to be any problem. You can all rest assured. Maybe this is a sign that his soul is going to return. Let's wait and see." Tian-chan quickly thanked him and said, "Thank you, Island Master Okuda. I'm really sorry to bother you when you're so busy." Okuda Island waved his hand and said, "You're treating me like an outsider. Brother Lin Yi and I are not outsiders. Alright, enough with the pleasantries. Take care of him. I'll go back first. The will of heaven represented Tian-chan and Sydney to send Okuda Island out. Then, the two of them set up a soundproof barrier. Okuda Island took the lead and said, Deputy Island Master, what do you think about Lin Yi's matter? There must be a problem. The will of heaven sighed. Just now, in front of Tian-chan and Sydney, he didn't dare to say much. But now, he didn't have any scruples in front of Okuda Island. Okuda Island nodded and said, yes, although Lin Yi's chi and blood are strong, his momentum has begun to converge. This doesn't look like he's about to break through. Instead, it looks like his soul is injured. When the soul is projected, it won't cause any damage to the body. But if there's a problem with the projected soul, then the body that lost the soul will have a problem. This seems to be the case with Lin. The will of heaven was silent. He also saw it, but there was nothing he could do. Now that Okuda Island confirmed his thoughts, there was nothing he could do. Let's wait and see. I hope Lin can come back on his own soon. Okuda Island sighed and cupped his fists before leaving. The will of heaven stood there for more than 10 seconds before returning to Tiandan Pavilion. At this time, Ho Guanqi and Kai Zhongyang came over after hearing the news. These two were Dan God Zhang Liju's disciple, but Lin Yi's situation wasn't something they could handle. So, their final conclusion was the same as the will of heaven. Of course, this wasn't something they could say to Tian-chan and the others. They could only tacitly agree. Unfortunately, even if they didn't say it, Tian-chan and Sydney were both smart girls. They could always see some clues. Since the people on the middle island couldn't do anything, then they could only place their hopes on the North Island's Shangguan Tianhua. After sending off the will of heaven and the others, Tian-chan immediately came back and said to Sydney, I'll write to Shangguan Laner now and tell her about Lin Yi's situation. If she can get her grandfather, Shanghai Tianhua, maybe Lin Yi will wake up. Sydney nodded. Yes, yes, yes. Right now, the only one who can save Lin Yi is someone like Shangguan Tianhua. There's no time to lose. We'll contact Shangguan Laner immediately. Chapter 5741. Shanghai Laner soon received a letter from Tian-chan. She had been waiting for Lin Yi's news. The primordial spirit projection had never stayed in the secular world for such a long time. It was impossible to say that she wasn't worried. On the contrary, Han Jingjing had always been full of confidence in Lin. She never thought that after he went to the secular world, Lin Yi would be in any danger. Jing, come and read the letter from Nakajima. It's from Ton-chan. Shanghai Laner was very loyal. She didn't read the letter first, but first found Han Jingjing to share the news. After Lin Yi left, the girls didn't stay together anymore, but their friendship deepened and deepened. They became best friends who could talk about anything and everything. When Han Jingjing heard Tian-chan's name, she immediately dropped what she was doing and ran to Shanghai Laner's side to read the letter. Lin Yi has a problem? Shanghai Laner, who was originally in high spirits, suddenly froze. She threw the letter and ran out. Han Jingjing hurriedly pulled Shanghai Laner and said, What are you going to do? I'm going to find my grandfather. Didn't you see Tian-chan say that my grandfather might be of help? Shanghai Laner tried to shake off her arm, but she didn't get rid of it. She immediately stomped her feet and said, Calm down. Han Jingjing directly pulled Shanghai Laner over and tried to calm her down first. Senior Shangguan is of course powerful, but he may not be of any use if he goes. The will of heaven, Okuda, and these people, which one of them isn't an experienced and knowledgeable overlord? The status of any one of them won't be lower than your grandfather. Shanghai Laner thought about it and agreed. If her grandfather was of no use, what should she do? Jing, what do you say? I'll listen to you. Shanghai Laner was too lazy to think about it. Anyway, there was Han Jingjing, who was comparable to a supercomputer. She didn't need to use her brain. Han Jingjing didn't hesitate and said solemnly, You tell Senior Shangguan first. I'll go to Nakajima first and see what's going on. I want to go too. Wait for me. I'll ask my grandfather. I'll come soon. Shangguan Lan knew that if she wanted to leave, she needed Shangguan Tianhua's permission, so she didn't wait for Han Jingjing to agree and ran out. This time, Han Jingjing didn't hold her back. After a simple packing, it didn't take long before Shanghai Laner hurried over. Her little face was full of disappointment. My grandfather agreed to let me go, but he said that he doesn't know much about the situation in this area. If the people of Nakajima can't do anything, he won't have any countermeasures. He has something to do these 2 days. Maybe after these 2 days, my grandfather will go over and have a look. He also asked us to inform him of the situation at any time. Shanghai Laner was a little unwilling, but there was no other way. It was not easy to leave here and go to Nakajima. Han Jingjing nodded and said, "In that case, let's not delay. Let's go immediately." Of course, the little princess of the North Island would use the best flying spirit beast to travel. Under the protection of the masters arranged by Shanghai Tianhua, the two quickly rushed straight to the sky and flew to Najima. After arriving at Tiandan Pavilion, Han Jingjing quickly saw Lin Yi, but she couldn't do anything about Lin Yi's situation. This was also expected, so there was nothing to be disappointed about. I understand. This is the only way. After looking at Lin Yi's situation, Han Jingjing said very indifferently, "What should we do?" Tian Chan hurriedly asked. She also knew how smart Han Jingjing was. Others couldn't do anything, but Han Jingjing might be able to think of a way. "I want to go to the mortal world and find brother Lin Yi's soul. I want to see what happened to him," Han Jingjing said casually. It didn't seem like she was talking about something dangerous at all. Tian Chan and Sydney shouted at the same time, "No!" Both of them knew the danger of spirit projection, so it was absolutely impossible for them to agree to such a thing. On the contrary, Shangguan Lan asked curiously, "Why not? If we can find junior brother Lin Yi's spirit, can't we bring him back?" "Jingjing, you are really a genius. You found the key to the problem at once." Tian Chan smiled bitterly and said, "How could it be so easy? The primordial spirit projection is already very dangerous, and there are restrictions on the strength of the projector. It must be above the nascent soul realm. With Jingjing's strength, she doesn't even have the qualifications, let alone face the dangers." Han Jingjing shook her head firmly and said, "No, I must go and see. The problem of strength is not a problem at all. I can solve it. Also, I will find a way to reduce the danger to the lowest level. According to my calculations, there is at least an 80% chance that we can go to the secular world without any harm." For some reason, Han Jingjing's words were so easy to believe. Not to mention 80%, even if Han Jingjing said that she was 100% confident, Tian Chan felt that she would also believe it. In the end, Tian Chan also wanted to know what happened to Lin Yi in the secular world. Since Han Jingjing insisted on going and was sure that she would not be hurt, then Tian Chan seemed to have no reason to stop her. "I understand. I will go to the master of Okuda Island and ask him to help arrange a spirit projection. But Han Jingjing, you must promise me that nothing will happen to you," Tian Chan said seriously. If it was possible, she also wanted to go to the secular world to find Lin Yi. Unfortunately, she had no confidence, so she could only pin her hopes on Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing took out a soft armor from her bag and showed it to Tian Chan. Then she said solemnly, "I will be fine, because I have been preparing to die in the secular world for a long time." Before Tian Chan could speak, Sydney asked curiously, "Jingjing, what is the use of this soft armor? Does it have anything to do with spirit projection?" "That's right. Because I don't know when brother Lin Yi will come, I have nothing to do, so I casually studied this soft armor. If I have the chance, I will go to the secular world to play with him. It just so happens that I can use it this time." Han Jingjing nodded and said. Then she pointed to a round bulge on the chest of the soft armor and said, "There is a spirit beast's inner core here. It is the key to spirit projection." Tian Chan felt it and said with some realization, "It is the inner core of a spirit beast at the peak of the nascent soul realm. You want to use this soft armor to deceive the spirit projection device and pretend to have the strength of a peak nascent soul realm cultivator?" Chapter 5742. Shangguan Laner said anxiously, "Jingjing, your cultivation is too low. Even if you go, it's useless. Let me go." Tian Chan immediately objected, "Lan, You don't know the situation in the secular world. You can't even find your way there. Let me go. Tian-chan couldn't go before, but now that she saw Han Jingjing take out the soft armor, she knew that she could use it to go to the secular world. So, she immediately rushed to find Lin. Han Jingjing put the armor away. You guys don't need to fight, I'm the only one who can help Lin Bro this time, the others won't be able to help. I made this armor for myself too, and you guys won't be able to use it to its fullest potential. The chances of failure are very high. Tian-chan and the others were speechless. In this aspect, Han Jingjing's talent was absolutely beyond their comprehension. Even if Han Jingjing was talking nonsense, they couldn't tell whether it was true or not. Alright, this matter is settled. Sister Tian-chan, please help me arrange the primordial spirit projection as soon as possible. I'll adjust this soft armor. Han Jingjing didn't plan to say anything else and just closed the coffin. Tian-chan and Sydney looked at each other and had no choice but to accept this fact. The primordial spirit projection was quickly arranged. Because of Lin Yi's abnormality, Okuda had long been prepared. Originally, the will of heaven planned to personally project his primordial spirit projection, but he was extremely unfamiliar with the secular world. Before collecting enough information, he didn't dare to act casually. Otherwise, it would be a waste of time. So, when Han Jingjing said she wanted to go, she could leave immediately. However, Okuda and the others were not very optimistic about Han Jingjing's safety. Tian-chan and Sydney tried to persuade Han Jingjing again. Jing, why don't you let me go? Your level is a little too low. How are we going to explain it to Lin Yi if something happens? Since you can adjust this soft armor, you can definitely let me wear it, right? Tian-chan held Han Jingjing's hand, trying to convince Han Jingjing to give up on the primordial spirit projection and let her take over. Unfortunately, Han Jingjing was very determined. She shook her head and said, Sister Tian-chan, there's no need to say anything. I'm ready. Let's start. Big brother Lin Yi might be waiting for me to help him. Let's not waste time. After that, no one knew how Han Jingjing did it, but the soft armor she wore on her body emitted a faint light, and the powerful aura of the nascent soul stage slowly rose. There was no flaw at all. Okuda was also amazed. It's exactly the same as a real peak nascent soul cultivator. If I didn't know the truth, I would definitely be fooled. It seemed that it would not be a problem to hide from the primordial spirit projection device. You're indeed a genius in the aspect of refining weapons. Han Jingjing smiled slightly. She was a genius, but not a genius in refining weapons. It was just that this kind of thing was too troublesome to explain, so she let Okuda figure it out himself. Tian-chan nodded. That's right, this soft armor is really amazing and it's very effective in scaring people. However, after you project your soul, you'll be weakened for a period of time. You have to be careful, find Lin Yi and bring him back as soon as possible. Han Jingjing smiled and nodded. I'll remember. Thank you, Brother Tian, for reminding me. Let's start now. Seeing that Han Jingjing was determined, no one continued to persuade her. Instead, they gave a few words of advice. Okuda also started the primordial spirit projection device. With the soft armor as a disguise, Han Jingjing's primordial spirit easily completed the projection. After breaking through the barrier, it went directly to the secular world. Outside a small town in Europe, Han Jingjing appeared in a sparse forest, feeling a little dizzy. Her primordial spirit projection was random, so it could not accurately bring Han Jingjing to Huaxia. Instead, it brought her to Europe, which was a huge deviation. However, there was a shadow of a soft armor on Han Jingjing's primordial spirit. It was the work she used to disguise herself as a Yuanyin peak. Unexpectedly, she also brought it with her. Where is this? Han Jingjing looked around her surroundings in a daze. Her divine sense was not strong, and she was not used to releasing it, so she still used it to see more. The soft armor on her body turned into a set of ordinary casual clothes, and her primordial spirit quickly transformed into a primordial spirit body. The process was so fast that if Lin Yi saw it, he would definitely be stunned. When Lin Yi came down, he had to go through untold hardships to condense a primordial spirit body, and he was almost eaten as a big tonic. Perhaps this was also the function of the soft armor. But the soft armor was originally made by Han Jingjing, which proved that she was a genius. Unfortunately, at this time, the genius beauty Han Jingjing still had a cute look on her face. She looked around in a daze and then walked slowly. The grove was not big. In a few minutes, she walked to the edge. The road that was faintly visible before was completely revealed in front of Han Jingjing. 6 kilometers in Austin? Han Jingjing looked up at a road sign on the road and thought to herself, what kind of place is this Austin? Of course, it is definitely not China, because the text on it is not Chinese. As a top student, this is not difficult for Han Jingjing. It seems that I have come to Europe. It seems that the primordial spirit projection is random. Now there is no way, Brother Linny, you have to wait for me. Han Jingjing sighed, whispered a few words, and walked in the direction of Austin. Although with the help of the soft armor, Han Jingjing successfully condensed the primordial spirit body, but if she wanted to fly, it would consume too much divine sense power. Now Han Jingjing's strength has been reduced to the peak of the middle stage of heaven stage. This is still the strength that has been preserved by the blessing of the soft armor. If she flies, it is likely that she will not find Linny. Han Jingjing will be passive to the heavenly island. So Han Jingjing can only go to this Austin first and then find a way to contact the people in China. Whether it is the Liu family or Kong Xiaobo, they must be able to get her there smoothly. Lin Yi has the space of the jade pendant to carry things, but Han Jingjing only has such a soft armor and nothing else. Fortunately, the strength of the peak of the middle stage of heaven stage is also regarded as a master in the secular world. There is no need to worry too much about safety. After a few steps, in the direction behind Han Jingjing, there is a car approaching quickly. In Europe, hitchhiking is a very common thing. Han Jingjing does not want to waste her divine sense power, so she simply stood on the side of the road and stretched out her arm to give a thumbs up. Chapter 5743. Hi, beautiful, where are you going? A white youth in his 20s in the driver's seat greeted Han Jingjing with a smile. Judging from his attire, he was not a rich man. The Bumblebee was just an ordinary model, barely considered as a low-end car in Europe. But this guy's expression made him look like a rich second generation. It was as if he was writing on his face that he wanted to hit on her, and this was her honor. Han Jingjing slightly narrowed her eyes and revealed a harmless and innocent smile. I'm going to Ostall up ahead. Can you give me a ride? Of course, no problem. Come on. The white youth said with a warm smile. He opened the door of the front passenger seat for Han Jingjing. But Han Jingjing had already opened the door of the back seat and shrunk into it. The white youth was slightly startled. He did not say anything else and could only smile awkwardly. He leaned over to open the door of the front passenger seat and then stepped on the accelerator. My name is Johansson, beautiful. What's your name? The white youth deliberately slowed down the speed of the car. It was half as slow as when he came, so he had time to turn back and talk to Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing said lightly, you can call me Liu. Oh, by the way, please turn your head and look at the road while driving. Thank you. It was just a ride. Han Jingjing did not want to talk to this Johansson. She reminded him and turned her head to look out of the window. It only took a few minutes to travel 6 kilometers. When they arrived at Ostall, they went their separate ways. Johansson laughed and said, Liu, don't worry. My driving skills are very good. There are no cars on this road, so there will be no accident. Are you living in Ostall? Or are you looking for someone or traveling? Han Jingjing casually said, I'm just taking a stroll. Then you're in luck. I'm very familiar with Ostall. Although it's just a small place, there are still a lot of fun places. I'll be your tour guide. I promise you'll have a good time. Johansson immediately said. Han Jingjing guessed that if she said she was looking for someone, he would also say the same thing. Can I borrow your phone for a while? Han Jingjing really didn't want to talk nonsense with Johansson, so she directly borrowed his phone. In any case, it was not easy for Han Jingjing, who had no money on her, to make an international call. Johansson was secretly delighted. He thought that his handsomeness had moved Han Jingjing, and she was going to give him her number. He immediately took out his phone and handed it over, saying, Here, you can use it as you like. This is the latest model. It has only been on the market for 3 days. You know that, right? Han Jingjing casually took it, but she didn't even bother to smile. Why was he showing off the latest phone model in front of a genius like her? With her ability, any toy she made would be better than an ordinary mobile phone. Although it had been a long time since she made a call to the secular world, Han Jingjing's memory was extremely good. Naturally, she would not forget those numbers. However, after dialing, she was prompted that this phone was prohibited from making international calls. Han Jingjing was speechless. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing. It seemed that this Johansson was indeed a pauper who liked to show off. He even deliberately set up such a restriction. Forget it, I'll think of a way when I get to Ostall. After hanging up, Han Jingjing threw the phone in the front passenger seat and continued to look out the window with a calm face. In front of Lin Yi and the people she knew, she was the innocent and pure Han Jingjing. However, now that she was alone in Europe, the hidden Lu Jinghan character began to slowly awaken. When Johansson saw that Han Jingjing did not use the phone to talk to anyone, he thought that his guess was correct. She was indeed interested in him, so she gave him her phone number. Johansson secretly observed Han Jingjing's exquisite and perfect face and figure through the rearview mirror. His heart slowly began to burn. There were still about 3 kilometers to Ostall. He couldn't wait to return to the town. He simply turned the steering wheel and drove off the road, heading for the small forest at the side. Han Jingjing frowned slightly and turned to look at Johansson. Aren't you going to Ostall? Why did you deviate from the main road? Dear Lu, we are all adults. Since we both have a good impression of each other, there is no need to be shy. My car is very comfortable. Of course, I will make it more comfortable for you, Johansson said with a smile. However, that kind of look made Han Jingjing want to smash his face with the sole of her shoe. Even an idiot would know what such explicit words meant. Han Jingjing said with a frosty face, "Stop the car. Otherwise, you will regret it." "Oh, you are so cute. Is it okay to do it here? You can still see a little from the road. It will be more hidden if you go in. Of course, if you like it here, it's okay. I have no opinion, and I promise you will not regret it." Johansson had a dirty smile on his face and deliberately distorted Han Jingjing's meaning. In his opinion, Han Jingjing just happened to come here to play, and she left her phone number in his phone. Obviously, she was not an old-fashioned woman. It was not a problem to bring her to play in the forest. Even if Han Jingjing was not willing, it was not up to her. Johansson's brain was now filled with lust. He desperately wanted to rape Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing suddenly quieted down and looked at Johansson coldly. If she wanted to kill this idiot, it was just a matter of moving her fingers. Even if Han Jingjing did not practice or fight, her strength was real. Johansson suddenly felt a chill in his heart. Although he did not understand, he did not want to continue driving in. Seeing that the road was already blurred, he estimated that this place was remote enough, so he simply stopped the car. After putting down the back of the front seat, Johansson turned and said with a smile, "Baby, come on. Do you want to take it off yourself, or do you want me to help you?" As he spoke, he reached out to touch Han Jingjing's pretty face. He did not even think about whether Han Jingjing would resist or not. Han Jingjing raised her eyebrows and suddenly reached out to grab Johansson's palm. She gently twisted it back. With a slight cracking sound, Johansson's palm directly turned back 180 degrees. I said you will regret it. Han Jingjing calmly shook off Johansson's hand and wiped her hand on the seat with some disgust. She felt that touching this trash was very dirty. Chapter 5744. Johansson suddenly thought of something and pulled out a .38 pistol from the storage compartment. He pointed it directly at Han Jingjing's forehead and shouted, "You son of a bitch! How dare you attack me? You're dead today. I'm telling you, you're definitely dead today." Han Jingjing looked at the black muzzle indifferently. The spirit was not afraid of the bullets of this kind of pistol. Even if she was not a spirit, Han Jingjing's strength was enough to easily take down this pistol at this distance, so there was nothing to worry about. Johansson gritted his teeth with a ferocious look and said, "Bitch, take off all your clothes. I'll ask you for compensation today, and then I'll deal with you." Although the pain of the fracture in his left wrist made Johansson's forehead break out in a cold sweat, he would not be reconciled if he did not have sex with Han Jingjing a few times. Han Jingjing snorted twice as a mockery of Johansson's words. Then she reached out again and grabbed his right wrist. There was another crisp sound and the .38 pistol fell directly into Han Jingjing's hand. Johansson screamed again, sweating all over. That kind of bone-piercing pain was definitely not a joke. Looking at his pale face, it was likely that he would faint at any time. I just wanted to teach you a lesson, but your ability to make me angry is not bad. Now you should be satisfied, right? Han Jingjing said with a faint smile. She pinched the pistol and broke it, then threw it out of the car window. Johansson looked at Han Jingjing in fear. This girl, who was as beautiful as an angel, was simply as terrible as the devil. As compensation, I'll take your car first, as well as your cash and mobile phone. Han Jingjing didn't know how to get some money to make an international call, and it just so happened that this Johansson came to her door. Since he wanted to rob her, Han Jingjing didn't mind robbing him in return. Without waiting for Johansson to speak, Han Jingjing nimbly got to the front seat, then opened the door and kicked Johansson out. Of course, his wallet was already in Han Jingjing's hand, but Han Jingjing might have been focusing on the wallet, so she didn't pay much attention to the position when she kicked him. When Johansson flew out, he seemed to have heard the terrible sound of an egg breaking. Han Jingjing didn't care about the guy's screams. She closed the car door and drove away. Anyway, this guy shouldn't die. After a while, when he didn't feel so much pain, he could walk to the road and ask for help. Johansson was lying on the ground with cold sweat all over his forehead. His body was curled up like a shrimp, and he looked at his car in despair as it sped away. He didn't expect that a seemingly normal hunting trip would turn out like this. Han Jingjing suddenly stopped the car and stretched her hand out of the window. In her hand was a bag of white powder. This was what Johansson cared about the most, a bag of heroin. The pistol from before was placed together with the heroin. Han Jingjing happened to see it in the open storage compartment, and suddenly felt that she was too kind to Johansson. Obviously, she couldn't consume so many drugs by herself. Johansson should be transporting drugs, so he had a pistol. She just didn't expect that this guy would still have the mood to look for women when transporting drugs. He really deserved it. Seeing the white powder pouring out of the transparent bag in Han Jingjing's hand and then drifting away with the wind, Johansson was completely desperate. Even the pain of his egg breaking couldn't compare to the unbearable pain of watching all this happen. Without this batch of goods, he could only hide his identity and flee. Otherwise, he would definitely die a more miserable death. After dealing with the drugs, Han Jingjing continued to drive. As for whether Johansson was dead or alive, she didn't care at all. This kind of trash would only be better for the world if he died. Austin arrived soon. Han Jingjing parked the bumblebee at a remote intersection and then took out all the euros in Johansson's wallet. The wallet was thrown under the car seat. Han Jingjing didn't plan to continue to use this car, so she didn't pull out the key. The most important thing now was to contact the people in Huaxia and figure out the situation of Linny first, and then ask someone to pick her up. The stack of notes in Johansson's wallet was about 400 or 500 euros. It seemed to be a little less for a drug dealer, but it was enough for Han Jingjing. Pushing the door open, Han Jingjing was just about to get out of the car when she found that something was wrong. This place was originally not a place where cars came and went, but now there were two cars rushing over at a very fast speed. The target was obviously Han Jingjing's bumblebee. Because of Johansson's particularity, Han Jingjing felt that she might have been targeted. She released her divine awareness a little and became more and more sure of this. The Europeans in the two cars were holding guns in their hands. The evil forces here are so rampant. They dare to come with guns in broad daylight. Han Jingjing whispered. She lowered her body and quickly rushed into the alley next to her. She was not afraid of bullets, but she was afraid of trouble. Whether these people were coming for her or not, it was the best choice to get rid of them as soon as possible. As for continuing to drive and race with them, it was not a movie. Was it necessary? Catch that woman, don't let her run away. As soon as Han Jingjing entered the alley, someone shouted and chased after her. It was a person from one of the cars who jumped out. Another person went to check the car that Han Jingjing had abandoned and shouted, "Johansson is not here, and there is nothing left except a wallet." It really has something to do with that idiot. It's really annoying. I just wanted to hitch a ride. Why are there so many things? Han Jingjing stood on the roof of a 2-story building and looked at the guys who were chasing her below. She snorted softly. The other party found her so quickly. It should be that the car had been installed with a positioning device. It was estimated that when the idiot Johansson turned into the woods, he had already been noticed by them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have found Han Jingjing so quickly. Deviating from the scheduled route meant that there was an accident. Although they returned to Ostall immediately, they didn't go to the place they had agreed to meet. It would be strange if they didn't come to investigate. Chapter 5745. Looking at their posture, they would not stop until they found Han Jingjing. In this place, the power of these guys seemed to be very strong. No one dared to say anything with a gun in the daytime. Han Jingjing was not worried about falling into their hands. She just didn't want to waste time, so she simply sneaked into the house under her feet and found a phone to use first. Before sneaking in, Han Jingjing certainly used her divine awareness to make sure that there was no one inside. In such a close place, her divine awareness was still competent. The first call, Han Jingjing did not call back to the Liu family. Compared with the relationship with Lin Yi, the Liu family without her was far less powerful than Kang Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, and others. So Han Jingjing directly called Lai Changyi. The two had business dealings before, so she still remembered his number. After a few rings, the other side connected. "Hello, who is this?" Lai Changyi said directly in English because the number showed that it was from Europe. He thought it was someone from the Buffon family looking for him. "Lai Changyi? I'm Han Jingjing." Han Jingjing certainly had no problem communicating in English, but the two Huaxia people were on the phone. Of course, they spoke directly in Huaxia language. Lai Changyi seemed to be stunned, and then he cried out, "Han Jingjing? Lu Jinghan? No, sister-in-law, you're back too?" Lai Changyi and others certainly knew Han Jingjing's identity. Suddenly hearing Han Jingjing's voice, Lai Changyi suddenly became excited. This was the second person to come back from Heaven Stage Island besides Lin. How could he not be excited? Han Jingjing did not beat around the bush. She asked directly, "Where is brother Lin? Is there something wrong with him?" "Jingjing, sister-in-law, you know?" "Yes, the boss has been in a coma for more than 10 days. Although there are no scars, he just doesn't wake up." "Sister-in-law, are you in Europe now? Can you come back as soon as possible to think of a way?" Lai Changyi did not talk nonsense. He simply explained the situation and asked Han Jingjing if she could go back. At this time, Han Jingjing came back from Heaven Stage Island. There was no need to ask that she came back for Lin Yi. Otherwise, she would not ask if there was something wrong with Lin Yi. "Brother Lin Yi has been in a coma for more than 10 days? Has there been no response?" Han Jingjing frowned. It made sense that Lin Yi's main body was unconscious on Sky-class Island, since his soul had been projected to the common world. But what did it mean when his soul was unconscious in the common world? This matter seemed to be a little troublesome. Fortunately, according to Lai Changyi's words, Lin Yi's primordial spirit was fine, just unconscious. No matter what, he had to see Lin Yi first. "Lai Changyi, I'm now in a place called Aldos in Europe. Because I came back from Heaven Stage Island, I don't have anything on me. Find a way to bring me back." Han Jingjing and Lai Changyi didn't need to be polite. They were all people by Lin Yi's side. "Sister-in-law, please wait a moment. I'll check it out." After Lai Changyi said that, there was a clattering sound of the keyboard, and then he said, "Sister-in-law, I've checked Aldos. It's a small town, but it's only 150 kilometers away from Lanmi. It'll take a lot of time for me to send people there. If it's convenient for you, go directly to Lanmi to find Su Shirhan and Chengyi. They should have returned to Lanmi for a concert." "Is Shirhan also in Europe?" Han Jingjing was surprised. If that was the case, it would be more convenient to go back with Su Shirhan. After all, Su Shirhan wasn't an ordinary celebrity. Yes, sister-in-law Shirhan is a guest of Chengyi's concert. This time, Lanmi is a make-up concert. It's a long story. Let's talk about it later. Anyway, as long as you can get to Lanmi, You can come back with sister-in-law Shirhan. You can take her private plane. You don't have to worry about anything. Lai Chang'e said with certainty. With Su Shirhan's background and fame, her private plane wouldn't encounter any trouble or inspection. After thinking about it, Lai Chang'e said, if it's not convenient for you to go, then I'll contact someone to pick you up in Ostal, or I can ask sister-in-law Shirhan to go there. It's okay. I can go there myself. Han Jingjing said casually. It was just 150 kilometers. It would only take 1 or 2 hours to get there. If Su Shirhan came, it would be a waste of time. Well, sister-in-law Jingjing, write down their phone numbers. I'll contact them first. If possible, it's best to come back as soon as possible. Lai Chang'e was also worried about Lin. If Han Jingjing had a way to cure Lin Yi, of course, the sooner the better. Unfortunately, Ostal wasn't within the Buffon family's sphere of influence. Otherwise, Lai Chang'e would definitely ask Kerman to send Han Jingjing back. With their partnership and Kerman's identity as half of Lai Chang'e's disciple, these small things shouldn't be a problem. Han Jingjing remembered the numbers Lai Chang'e gave her and hung up. She took out €100 and put it next to the phone. It was the cost of this international call. As for whether she gave too much, it wasn't something Han Jingjing needed to consider. Anyway, it was all along. It didn't matter at all. As for contacting Su Shirhan, it wouldn't be too late to wait until they reached Lanmi. Right now, she had to think of a way to get to Lanmi. Han Jingjing, who was about to leave the house, suddenly felt something was wrong. It seemed like there was a threat approaching. What could threaten her was definitely not a gun or something like that. She released her divine sense and found a middle-aged white man in black with a crossed sword in his hand. His eyes were looking straight at Han Jingjing's direction as if the wall couldn't stop him at all. Han Jingjing suddenly frowned. There was actually someone in this town who could threaten her, and he appeared in front of her so quickly. It was too much of a coincidence. But Han Jingjing wouldn't think that this was an operation specifically targeted at her. She just projected her soul from Heaven State Island. Even Okuda and the Will of Heaven didn't know that Han Jingjing would appear in Europe. It was impossible for them to specifically send someone to deal with her. This old man looks like he has some skills, but I can't see his strength level. It should be the European system. Han Jingjing thought about it and felt that there was no need to waste time, so she turned around and left the house from the other side.